This is a big list of masterpieces. I consider these fragrances masterpieces. A lot of people do as well. And I've got 100 masterpieces created by 100 master perfumers in today's video. This is a deep dive video, long format, 100 fragrances I'm going to talk to you about in this video. In fact, there's going to be more than 100 because there's a few overlapping fragrances. I did set up one rule for this. I wanted to make sure we cover as many different perfumers as I can. Some perfumers did a lot more than just one, masterpiece. So I had to find the fragrance I wanted to talk about in the video because they might have 2, 3, 4, or 5. So there is that. And I also wanted to make sure not to use that perfumer again, not to feature them again, unless it involved another perfumer making a fragrance with that perfumer. So for example, if there's a perfumer one that I've already featured, and he's also a perfumer for another fragrance, but it also has like co-perfumers, I will feature them. But I tried not to feature the perfumers over and over again because there's a lot of fragrances out there, and I wanted to highlight as many perfumers as I can. So we're going back in time. Went all the way back to the 1800s and all the way forward to 2024. So these are all masterpieces, as I said. Some fragrances will be available, some will not be. Unfortunately, some will be available as modern interpretations. Some will be available as their, original creations, but obviously formulated down the line to what they can, have featured in fragrances and so on. So let me know if you have any specific masterpieces, fragrances that you consider masterpieces. Do add a comment below. And as I was saying, this is part of my deep dive video series. There's a lot of videos like this on the channel. I have it linked in the info box. You can click that link and watch the videos back to back. And there's hours and hours and hours of fragrance content you can access and, learn about fragrances. So we're talking about master perfumers and masterpieces today. Starting off with the first fragrance. It's Houbigant's Fougère Royale, created in 1882. This version is the updated version. And somebody made a point the other day, and yes, this is true. It's a reinterpretation of the original. It's not a reformulation. So this is a reinterpretation of the classic Fougère Royale that launched in 1882. It is redone by Rodrigo Flores Roux. So they took the idea and modernized it and, brought it back to, made it for modern noses, and I consider it to be an awesome release from the house. Sadly, I've never smelled the OG, the original that launched in the 1800s, but what they've done here is quite awesome. It's green, it's aromatic, lots of herbs and spices. There's lavender, there's geranium here for sure. There's probably oak mossy touches, coumarin, which is taken from the tonka bean, and spices and woods and citruses along the way. Great fragrance, I think. A very classic Fougère, created by Paul Parquet. And of course, that's the original perfumer who did it in the 1800s, 1882, and then modernized by Rodrigo Flores Roux. So that is 1882. In 1889, we had a fragrance from the House of Guerlain, created by Aimé Guerlain. It's a Jicky. So I don't understand why Jicky is considered a woman's perfume. This is like an aromatic Fougère-like fragrance. Is it because it has warmer notes? It's almost like an amber Fougère because it's quite warm in the base, but very lavender forward. It has the DNA of Guerlain that I smell in Shalimar, but it's overdosed with lavender. The lavender is really, really stand out here. So I'm going to mention 3 different Guerlain perfumers. Aimé Guerlain, and then we've got a few others that are coming up. I'm drawing a blank. Jacques Guerlain, and then the one that later on will come up. But for me, this Jicky is amazing. It's an awesome release. It's almost like taking Shalimar, because I get Shalimar DNA here, or it's just a Guerlainade, their DNA, that DNA. Strip away of its warmth, but still leave a little, and overdose it with aromatics and spices. So lavender is quite prominent, but in the end, it's kind of warm and spicy, and also very aromatic and spices from that lavender. Really gorgeous. It's a fairly late discovery for me, but I absolutely love it. Really, really love this scent. Smells super awesome. There's a little bit of funk in there, which I kind of like. It's not overwhelming, but done in a really awesome way. I don't know much about Aimé Guerlain, but he's the guy, the very beginning of the perfumers at Guerlain. So, and Guerlain just celebrated 100 years of Shalimar, so the brand's been around for a long time, and that's dating back to 1889, Jicky. Going back to the house of Houbigant, this is from 1913, created by Robert B&M. This is Quelques Fleurs, the original. This is one of the early floral fragrances, super powdery. It's gorgeous though. It's got a super powdery effect. It's almost makeup-y, lipsticky as well. I'm assuming there's iris here. But it's like, it's a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Not necessarily, well, I think there's some spring floral touches in here as well, for sure. But I'm also getting tropical flowers, some spices. And, you know, there's definitely warmth under there as well. And in regards to Houbigant's Quelques Fleurs, there's multiple flankers of this. There's the Rouge, I believe. There's also the Jardin Secret version. I don't see an updated year for this fragrance like I do for Fougère Royale. So have they kept the formula as close to the original as possible? Most likely. But yeah, very classic feminine fragrance. Smells beautiful. Elegant. I can see that on a lady that wears, traditional styles of fragrances. So the next fragrance I don't have at all. This is Coty's Chypre, launched in 1917, created by Francois Coty. And as I've been mentioning in videos recently, Coty brought back Ambre Antique as part of their Infiniment Coty series of fragrances. So I'm only hoping that they're going to bring back Chypre and also Emeraude. Let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But Coty's Chypre is considered one of the, masterpieces of the earlier years of, perfume making. I actually went to Notes Shanghai in October, and they had the Osmotek there. And Osmotek has all of the formulas of the classic fragrances, and they've redone them that you can smell. So I got to smell Chypre. Obviously, it's got a familiar smell. Among the Chypre, I've smelled so many other fragrances that they had that are no longer in existence. And if you guys ever want to smell classic fragrances and you're visiting France, go to the Versailles and go to Osmotek. I don't know if it's easy to get in. I shouldn't push people to go there personally, because I don't know if it's an invite only thing. I've never been, but I did experience their formulas, their fragrances of discontinued masterpieces at the Notes Shanghai in Shanghai, the show. So it was great to be able to experience it. But going back to Coty Chypre, I'm hoping they bring it back, but I think it's one of the masterpieces of perfumery. Now going to the House of Caron, this is Tabac Blond. So this is created by Ernest Daldroff. So we had Ernest Daldroff's name come up quite often. For example, Pour Homme de Caron is not here. He created it. But I wanted to go with something earlier and still considered a masterpiece. This is a reformulated version, though, I have to be honest, not the original. But it's called Tabac Blond. But to me, it's a leather fragrance. It's sweet and ambery. There's spices and leather and some animalic funk in there as well. That's the most modern version of this fragrance. Again, I have a full review of it on the channel. If you've tried Tabac Exquis from the house, night and day difference. Don't think this is similar. If you are into acquiring or buying their tobacco fragrances, I think they're capitalizing on Tabac because they have Tabac Blond. They're known for Tabac Blond and Pour Homme de Caron. In fact, I think Pour Homme de Caron might be even more popular than Tabac Blond. But Tabac Blond I consider a masterpiece like of perfumery. Really gorgeous fragrance. It's interesting that they got leather. It's a tobacco fragrance, but it's leather. And I don't get much tobacco from it. But it's super gorgeous. It's Ernest Daldroff in 1919 is when that came out. So we're going to the year 1921, 2 years after Tabac Blond, when Chanel launched number 5. So I'm showing you the EDP version, but they launched Pure Perfume edition of this fragrance. So just to let you know that it wasn't the EDP that was launched. And I don't think it came in a spray. It was like a dab. Like that. I've also mentioned, if you ever get a chance to watching a French film about Coco Chanel and her relationship with Igor Stravinsky, there is a small subplot in that movie where she's in the creation process of Chanel number 5. If I remember correctly, she didn't even smell the fragrance. Number 5 is her lucky number, so she went with number 5. She said, call it. Or maybe Ernest Beau, who's a perfumer, said this is Mod 5 or Trial 5. Then that's what they were going to call it. I'm having a little bit of a blanking on that, but it was kind of like that. I don't think she even smelled the fragrance. But Ernest Beau, and we had earlier Ernest Daldroff, so two Ernests back to back. But Chanel number 5, I think everybody knows this. It's the biggest selling perfume of all time. Celebrated 100 years in 2021. I think it was that year that launched those red bottles. Was it that year? When did they launch? I got a few of the Chanel number 5 in red bottles just to collect. And I think that was the 100-year anniversary. I think that's what it was for. But yeah, it's been 4 years since we celebrated 100 years of number 5. And this year we're celebrating 100 years of Shalimar. Between Shalimar and number 5, I much prefer Shalimar. Aldehydes are not really my friend, as a note. I don't hate them, but I haven't really been embracing aldehydes as much as Shalimar's. Notes breakdown is warm, amber, resins, and I prefer those kind of fragrances much more than aldehydic. That's not to say Chanel number 5 doesn't have those features, but it's got a lot of aldehydes, and it's a very prominent smell, the aldehydes. So that is number 5, Chanel number 5, created by Ernest Beau for Coco Chanel in 1921, so 104 years ago. The next fragrance is created by Vincent Roubert in 1925. I have the 2000 edition here. It's Knize Ten, and actually just visited, I visited Vienna for the first time earlier this year, and I was there and I was able to buy another bottle of Knize Ten. So at that time, I did a bit of research at the store. I hung out at the store quite a bit, looked at a lot of stuff because it's a men's clothing store and they're known for their fragrances. Of course, Knize Ten, it's a leather fragrance. I kind of prefer the golden edition, slight bit more than the original, but they're very close to me. The golden edition came out in 2000. But it's this kind of a classic leather that's kind of ambery, and it has this warm resinous base. But it reminds me a little bit of Tabac Blond, but it's different. It's a bit more manly than Tabac Blond. It also reminds me a little bit of Royal English Leather from Creed, which is vaulted. It reminds me a little bit of Queer Fetiche from Maître Parfumeur Gantier. So it reminds me of these styles of fragrances, but really awesome scent. Definitely one of the best ever created. And hence it's celebrating 100 years of perfumery. 100 years of Knize Ten. I'm surprised it's another 100 years for that fragrance. We have two major fragrances from 1925. First of which is the Knize Ten, and then the second of which is Shalimar. 100 years of Shalimar. It's a long time, I have to be honest. Really, really long time. I actually gave a bottle of Shalimar to my mom this year for her Christmas present. It's not the only gift I gave her, but I wanted to give her a classic because I think her mom wore Guerlain products. To me, this is citrusy up top, and that gets floral and powdery, eventually getting warmer and resinous in the dry down. But I love this DNA, and I've come to love it even more the older I get. The new version, L'Essence, is definitely more modernized for the modern noses, but you can't dismiss the classics. So I believe also Shalimar launched as a pure perfume, and later on they created the different concentrations. Earlier on, when I started doing videos, I actually had only had the Eau de Toilette. Last year I bought, or 2 years ago, I bought the Eau de Parfum, and I have a few additional versions of it. But also I bought the Millésime editions in the Tonka, the Iris, and the Jasmine. So great fragrance, great DNA. I'm assuming it'll survive another 100 years. What do you guys think? Do you think Chanel No. 5 will survive another 100 years? Let us know. Add a comment below. So we're going in order here. We've got a fragrance from the house of Lanvin. Okay, I did not mention who the perfumer is. So I already mentioned Aimé Guerlain for Jicky. Then we have Jacques Guerlain for Shalimar. I'm sorry, I got to remember to tell you guys the names of the perfumers. So Aimé Guerlain for Jicky from 1889. Jacques Guerlain for Shalimar in 1925. The next fragrance is from the house of Lanvin. It's Arpège from 1927. Perfumers, joint perfumers, André Frézy and Paul Vacher. Paul Vacher also is known for Les Galions fragrances, which I do not have any here. So it's nice to see his name come up with another perfumer, André Frézy for Lanvin Arpège. What do you guys think of Lanvin's Arpège? I actually have a vintage bottle of Mycin from Lanvin, which is sort of a similar black and gold. I actually did a haul of kind of classic fragrances 6-7 months ago. This was one of the fragrances that I bought in its current formulation that I thought still smelled pretty good today. For sure, it's classic. It's got aldehydic touches. Obviously, they're there. It's feminine. It's powdery. But also, it's light. But still smells great. I mean, that first initial blast is pretty robust. It's drying down a bit airy and thin. But I get an idea of what this fragrance was all about. And, you know, going back in time, this thing probably was a beast. And most likely it also launched as pure perfume. This edition is Eau de Parfum. Let me know if you're familiar with Lanvin Arpège and also André Frézy and Paul Vacher. Add a comment below. Next, going to the house of Jean Patou. This is Joy from 1930, created by Henri Almaraz. Who's familiar with this perfumer and who's familiar with this fragrance? Add a comment below. So I think it was 2016 when LVMH decided to buy Jean Patou. This is a vintage bottle and it's so skanky. Whew! There's some skank there. Some pissy skank. Whoa. But I feel like it's a similar vein of L'Envers Arpège and also number 5. But this has got some funk. It's aldehydic. It's warm and ambery in the dry down. My bottle is probably not the freshest, obviously, because it is vintage. This is... So there's information on the bottom of this fragrance. It says SA Designer Parfums Limited in England, of all places. I thought it was a French brand and it would be in France, but it says England on the bottom. And it's got jeanpatou.com. But let's go back to what I was saying. LVMH bought Jean Patou, and I believe they wanted to take the rights of the word joy. So joy is here, but there is a Dior Joy as well, which was I think it was a dud, a disappointment for that house. I don't think it went anywhere, and I think they might have done 1 or 2 flankers. But why would they do that? You know, taking a fragrance and dissolving it, a masterpiece, and coming up with a lackluster release and just completely destroying the legacy of what this fragrance was all about. And I don't even know what they're doing with the brand. I don't know what they're doing with the brand. I don't even think this brand is in existence. I don't know what's going on with Jean Patou. No new releases, no reformulated editions. A lot of the fragrances were brought back, but like Patou Pour Homme, I would love to get a vintage bottle of that. I have the new version. It's night and day difference. The original Patou Pour Homme was so super sexy and musky. The new version, not anything like it. Absolutely, like it's like a new fragrance. But this is actually, once again, it's aldehydic and a classic, but quite musky. It's got a pissy funk about it. Who's a fan of joy? Let me know. Then this fragrance is from the house of Dana. It's Taboo. Created by Jean Carl, 1932. This is part of that haul I did, which included Arpège about 6-7 months ago. I'm surprised how good this formulation is. I mean, of course, it's thin. Not much beastly. Sorry about that. Usually turn off the microphone on the computer. So, it's super warm and resinous. Amber for sure. Like major ambery fragrance. Spicy, sweet, and earthy. That is really good. This formulation is super awesome. This is a fairly modern formulation. I mean, I bought it from the discounters, whatever edition they had. So, look, they have the notes breakdown on the back. So it does say Italian bergamot lemon oil for top notes, Bulgarian rose, ylang ylang, jasmine for heart notes, base notes patchouli, oak moss, amber, and musk. This is super sexy. I mean, I think this is a woman's fragrance, but I think there's fragrances like this that they make unisex for, from the niche houses. So I don't consider this a very feminine. It's an amber pretty much. And it's really good. And it's also very cheap. Like, I don't think I spent more than $25 for this. And it's so good. Really, really great. I've got all the fragrances tagged. And they're all time-stamped. So if anything strikes your fancy and it's selling, definitely go ahead and click to purchase. But I highly recommend the Dana Taboo. Really, really nice. This next one, on the other hand, the reformulation is pretty bad. This is Schulten's Old Spice from 1937. This is Albert Hawk. This is the latest version of this. Yeah, it's plastic. They don't make the glass anymore. It's also not spray, but I don't think it ever came in spray. I actually, for a while, was buying their shower gels and things like that. Deodorant maybe too. In fact, my two nephews love Old Spice, the modern kind of islandy interpretation of deodorants and stuff. This is, it's an aftershave, so it's very light. It's, you know, aromatic and spicy, but it's so damn light. But still a classic, you know, my dad wore this. My dad wore this. It's developing. It's getting a little bit stronger, but since it is an aftershave, it's quite light. So there's Old Spice from Sultan, fondé on 1938, yeah. Founded and established in 1938. Whoa. Online it says 37. Here it says 1938. So my year is off. Anyway, yeah. Let me know if you had a dad that used Old Spice. Let me know, add a comment below. Do you use it yourself? Do you use their products? Add a comment below. So let's move on to the house of Nina Ricci. This is L'Air du Temps, and this is a bottle. It's a vintage bottle, but this is probably from the 90s. And no cap, sadly. This bottle was featured in my storage unit haul, storage unit locker haul video that I did a long time ago, like 2-3 years ago, where I obtained bags and bags of old perfumes that were in a storage unit. They were auctioned off. So in 1948, so first of all, L'Air du Temps is Francis Fabron. And I think around this time, fragrances were getting airier. And from the look of the cap of this bottle, there's wings. You instantly see like light airiness. So this is, even though it's very classic, and I feel like there's aldehydic touches in here as well, but there's an airiness about it, and I think it's the way the fragrance is composed. Light, airy, feminine, floral. And it's been around since 1948, so 75 plus years, I think. My mom wore it in the early 80s. But this version, like I said, in the 90s, that's when that version was manufactured. And it's kind of lost its luster, but I could still tell what the fragrance is all about. So that was created by Francis Fabron. Let me know if you're familiar with this perfumer. And I don't even know who Albert Hawk is that did Old Spice. Some of these perfumers also, as I was doing the research, only had one fragrance they're known for, nothing else. Of course, a lot of them do have other fragrances that they have created, but some of them just are known for one. Maybe some of their other fragrances weren't credited, but that's how it was. But moving on to our very first female perfumer, it's Germaine Cellier for Fracas. It's Robert Piquet's Fracas, and I've been mentioning to you guys, I'm not liking tuberose as a classic fragrance anymore. I really appreciate it in the Frederick Mall Cardinal Flower. Here, I'm not liking it. I don't know why. There was a time I really appreciated this fragrance, but my palate has changed to not like it. Does that happen to you guys? It rubs me the wrong way. It's certainly bubblegummy, and it's also full on tuberose. There's a candy sweetness about it, but I just don't dig it. What's going on with my nose? But Germaine Cellier, I think she did a few fragrances that she's known for, but I had to put this one because this is the one that is like sought after, is the one that people mention that, you know, it's very historic, it's a masterpiece and all that good stuff. I don't dig it myself, but I have to highlight it here. We're doing 100 masterpieces by 100 master perfumers video. We needed to feature that. But moving on to Okay, actually, it looks like... Wow, I got her name wrong, actually. First of all, we have two female perfumers back to back, but I've written down her last name wrong. So this next one is Estee Lauder's Youth Dew. It's created by Josephine Catapano, but I have the name wrong on the list. Catupano, I think that's how you say her name. I think autocorrect changed her name on the document, sadly. But Youth Dew, classic amber, resinous, spicy, fizzy, Coca-Cola-esque fragrance. I actually really love the way this smells. It's old school, but it's a fantastic offering from the house of Estee Lauder. And to this day, yeah, it smells dated. It's definitely very dated, but I love the smell like this. It's a classic that has to be smelled and appreciated, of course. And actually, also, I should say, Youth Dew does remind me a little bit of Opium. You guys get the connection? Opium, I guess, was a more modern interpretation of something like Youth Dew. And I don't know if it got closer to smelling like Youth Dew after reformulations. I remember my mom wore Opium, and it was like super bold and spicy. So I don't know if the reformulations brought those two fragrances closer. Could be, but I don't remember them smelling similar. But Youth Dew is definitely a classic masterpiece female perfumer, Josephine Catupano. I think that's how you say her last name. I apologize because the name has been changed on my document here. But great scent, still smells great today. But let's move on to Edmond Rudnitska with Diorissimo. I really love Diorissimo. As a matter of fact, it's Lily of the Valley, and I appreciate the way this flower smells and in fragrances. Most people tell me that the original is a lot better. Unfortunately, I don't ever remember getting my nose on the original Diorissimo, but I think the Eau de Toilette is so superb. It's fresh, it's green, it's floral, and like spring in a bottle. Totally spring in the bottle. I love this fragrance, and I think Edmond Rudnitska has done so many great fragrances. Wait a minute. I think I have Edmond Rudnitska listed twice, come to think of it. I believe so. Yeah. There's a few perfumers I did list twice. I couldn't get away, but I made sure I didn't list everybody twice. But this one is definitely Edmond Rudnitska. I gave him a second fragrance because he is one of the masterpieces out there. I mean, like geniuses in perfumers. But this Diorissimo, super awesome scent. If you haven't tried it yet, you must get your nose on it. I love it. I love Lily of the Valley, the way it smells, and they've captured it in that fragrance. So that's from 1956, created by Edmond Rudnitska. Next fragrance is Carvan's Vetiver, which I have this version currently, and I also have another version as well. I brought this version out. Did you guys know that this came out 2 years prior to Guerlain's Vetiver? So I've got both here. I've got the latest edition of Guerlain Vetiver, and then of course this version of Carvan Vetiver. This version of Carvan's Vetiver is... Oh no, my bottle. That's not good. Okay, my bottle is not spraying. I think I need to wash it. But I remember this fragrance being super creamy for... There's a lot of juice in there, but I don't know why it's not. Yeah, this is definitely like a super creamy take on Vetiver. And then, of course, the Guerlain Vetiver, everybody knows, and it's still selling. It's fresh, green, grassy, spicy. I think the latest edition of Carvan Vetiver, which came in the tall, flat green bottle, was a bit more similar to the Guerlain Vetiver. But I really appreciated the creaminess of this version quite a bit. So when I first got on the scene doing videos, this version was widely selling and highly discounted. But I don't think you can find this version anymore. I don't even know if the latest edition in the green flat bottle of Carvan's Vetiver is still out there. I remember Francis Kurkdjian was creating fragrances for Carvan for a while. In fact, he released a few, but I didn't care for the fragrances that were original to that era in the 2020 and 2010s. But the Vetiver always was great because it smelled like this, but a little bit fresher than this. And then, of course, the new fragrances I didn't care for. But let me know if you prefer Carvan's Vetiver or if you prefer Guerlain's Vetiver. The Carvan Vetiver came out in 1957, and it was created by Edouard Hache. The Guerlain Vetiver in 1959, created by Jean-Paul Guerlain. So we've gone through three different perfumers at Guerlain: Aimé Guerlain, Jacques Guerlain, and then Jean-Paul Guerlain. So let's move on to the House of Hermès next. We've got Calèche from 1961. Calèche is in multiple different concentrations. I've got the Eau de Toilette. To me, also, Calèche is aldehydic, a bit Chanel No. 5, but not quite identical, obviously. So it's got that aldehyde, or the aldehyde's note, which is airy, light, and ethereal. But just like the Chanel No. 5, there's warmth and substance once you get past that veil of aldehydes. Yeah, I mean, the Calèche series has been around since 1961, as I said, and it's created by Guy Robert. It's lovely. I think it's a bit more modern in comparison to Chanel No. 5, but still a classic because it's been out, like so many years ago. But next, go into the house of Jean Desprez. It's Bala Versailles, created by Jean Desprez. Gotta feature this one here. It's been around since 1962. So Jean Desprez is the perfumer, and it's the brand named after him. He did such a great job on this. But if you think this is butchered from reformulations, you can try the fragrance Salome from Papillon Perfumery. But I've also smelled the Parfum edition of Jean Desprez Bala Versailles. Oh my God, it's good. Oh my God. It was at a vintage shop. I should have bought it. I didn't. But, I mean, you can get the idea of this here. It's an eau de toilette. It's resinous ambery. These are the kind of fragrances that were known as orientals. But it's resinous and ambery. It's balsamic. It's spicy. It's warm. It's enveloping. It's musky. This is known as an animalic. It's got animalic touches. And apparently Michael Jackson wore this fragrance, which I don't know if it's a true rumor or not. But that's Bala Versailles. Definitely a masterpiece. I absolutely love this. But again, also, as I was saying, if you want something dirtier, more modern, but still very classic, because I think it reminds me of that fragrance, look up the fragrance Salome from Papillon Perfumery. It's so good. So good. All right, and then the next fragrance we're going to talk about is Fabergé's Brut. This is a dad fragrance. My dad wore this one. I recently bought this. I don't remember if this formulation is any good. This is also this is the Brut Parfum Prestige, it says. So when I first got my hands on a bottle like this little thing was a lot more expensive. It was also dangly. It was not stuck on here. This was like in the late 70s or early 80s. My dad wore it then. And the bottle, to me, is a total standout bottle. It means a lot to me because visually it was, I could see this bottle somewhere in my parents' bedroom or maybe in the bathroom. And it's so green compared to anything else, and my eyes would go right to it. And then I would see the little dangling thing on there. So very visually striking bottle. So this came out in '64, created by Carl Mann. But this version it's a bit of a dud. Nostalgia reasons, I had to have this. But this is disappointing, sadly. So this is not the Fabergé version also, guys. I don't think Fabergé... This is not the Fabergé, because Fabergé's name is not on here at all. Anyway, definitely a masterpiece when it came out, and one to know about for perfume historians. So that's 1964 Carl Mann. Obviously, that's like a reformulated edition. All right, next, we're going to the next 20. We did the first 20. We're starting off with another Jean-Paul Guerlain creation. We're going to Habit Rouge by Guerlain. This is the Eau de Parfum edition. Of course, we have the Parfum now, which is super awesome. Probably fairly distant from what this fragrance smells like. Although it has the DNA. But they've gone more gourmand. And for me, I'm actually preferring the EDT, but somehow I've grabbed the EDP. I'm appreciating the brightness and the lemoniness of the EDT more lately. Between the EDP and the EDT. I feel like the EDT has a bit more reach. It's a bit more... it has a wider reach, I should say. The EDP seems a bit subdued. But I think the DNA is awesome. It's one of the best men's fragrances ever created. It's a masterpiece, right? We're talking about masterpieces here. So good, though. Anyway, that's Guerlain Habit Rouge, 1965, created by Jean-Paul Guerlain. Then we've got Bernard Chant, one of my favorite, all-time favorite perfumers. I had to go with Aramis by Aramis for him, but, you know, we've got Clinique, Aromatics Elixir, so many different fragrances that he's done. But I had to go with this one because this is one of the best. And I'll say it again. I did a video on Intuition, the new Aramis fragrance. In that video, I also mentioned that Aramis by Aramis was discontinued because I read an article on Fragrantica, which probably I shouldn't follow. And then Aramis reached out to me and said, no, it's not discontinued. But I'm hearing from people that it's not easy to find Aramis by Aramis anymore. Macy's apparently used to carry it, but they don't, which I noticed that. So maybe it is on its way out. Who knows? But I just dropped my strip. But for me, it's a leather Chypre style fragrance, the Aramis by Aramis. And total dad fragrance once again. My dad wore it. I loved it when he wore it because I could smell that fragrance. And when I smell it, it reminds me of him and the fragrances he wore. It's been around for so long, 1966. And hopefully it's not discontinued. Although it is butchered. It is so light now. Extremely, extremely light. But Aramis by Aramis is one of the best, I have to say. But next, this is when we're doing Edmond Rudnitska a second time. This is the original Eau Sauvage. Let me know if you're familiar with this. I do have a vintage bottle of Eau Sauvage, but the color is so piss yellow, sadly. So to me, Eau Sauvage has also gotten light. I think that is a very new bottle. In the early 2010s, even late 2000s, I think the fragrance was so good. I loved it. And I think it's starting to show its age finally. But to me, it's one of the best aromatic, spicy, woody fragrances for the guys. It might even be bordering a Chypre style. But if you like a classy, masculine freshie, definitely Eau Sauvage should definitely be in your collection of fragrances. It's definitely a masterpiece. I mean, it's such a masterpiece that they recycled the name, took the Sauvage off of this name, and created a new fragrance called Sauvage for more modern guys. So the Parfum edition of that is also really great. I wish they brought back the 2012 Parfum edition, but the 2017 Parfum edition is okay. It's good. The Extreme is also good in the black bottle. I think the collection is really solid. Eau Sauvage is one of the best. I love it. So that's from 1966. Dior Eau Sauvage, 1966, created by Edmond Rudnitska. You won't hear his name again, but there might be a couple of more overlapping perfumers, but I decided, I made sure to not include a lot of overlapping perfumers. The next fragrance, created by Robert Gonon, is, oh, where is it? Here it is. Lancome's Eau de Lancôme. You guys familiar with this one? It's a super green fragrance. I think this is late 60s into the 70s when green was becoming big. This is also a fragrance that was in my storage unit or locker, storage locker haul video. I mean, it's turned, but it's a kind of a green freshie. I think these fragrances are discontinued now. Lancôme is, maybe it's still selling, but I like that it's kind of grassy, but very aromatic and spicy and very citrusy. And the citruses are on the green side. But it's a freshie, so it's meant to be worn liberally when it's warm outside, or if you just want something invigorating in the winter time. So that is Lancome's Eau de Lancôme. Cool bottle too. What do you guys think? I love the color. And the bottle design is really nice. All right, next is a fragrance that my mom wore. I remember her wearing. It's Yves Saint Laurent's Rive Gauche from 1970. This is Michael High and Jacques Polge. So Jacques Polge's name will come up quite a bit. In fact, I was visiting my mom recently and she was wearing this. She loves this fragrance. It's not the same though. It's gotten light, watered down. This is also a bottle created by Pierre Denon. If you are a fan of his bottles, search the channel for his name. There were a few videos about his fragrances. This is another aldehydic fragrance. This one and also Calandra from Paco Rabanne remind me of one another. I kind of prefer this one a little more. The reformulation on this one is not as bad as the Calandra, which I can hardly smell. It's like light water. But this reminds me of my mom. It's clean. And then I think 30 years later, 33 years after the original, the Rive Gauche, they came out with Rive Gauche Pour Homme. I think it was Jacques Cavalier who did it. I don't have that in this video, unfortunately, but that one got discontinued and we've still got the original female Rive Gauche selling. So created by Henri Robert. Did I mention his name already? I don't think I did. So Henri Robert did, wait, I'm sorry. No, it's Michael High and Jacques Polge, who apparently did Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche from 1970. That's the year I was born too, so go figure. It might be something that I remember smelling my mom wear when she was pregnant with me. All right, next, Chanel number 19 from 1970. It's Jean Kerlio. Who knows this perfumer? But who knows this fragrance? More than Chanel number 5, I prefer number 19 for its greenness. Remember, as I said, when this fragrance launched, it was starting to become green. So we went into the 70s with greenness. And this is a super green fragrance. Galbanum is king here. It's super powdery, but the way the galbanum smells in this, they make a sticky resinous paste out of it, which is diluted and, you know, mixed with alcohol. So it smells like stems, but it's super powdery because there's a lot of iris in here. But it smells like spring stems. And it's a lovely, lovely fragrance. Super, super awesome. I wear this. I don't wear number 5, but number 19, I love. The greenness is superb. And I love galbanum in fragrances. And this is a galbanum bomb. That's the Eau de Parfum edition. The EDT is a square tall bottle. And then there's also I think there's a poudre version of this as well. I can't remember now. I do have a video on the 3 different versions on the channel too. So then we've got Jean Patou's 1000. This is created by Jean Kerlio. So I was wrong with, mixed up some perfumers. So this came out in 1972. This I don't think is a green fragrance. Wow, it's very ambery. It's turned a little bit, sadly. Lots of spices, slight booziness. Where am I getting that from? Is it leather? Lots of resins, slight fruitiness and booziness. It's amber, spicy, powdery. Let me know who's a fan of 1000 or 1000, created by Jean Kerlio for Jean Patou. Add a comment below. All right, next we're going to 1972 with Alliage. We've got 2 Estee Lauder fragrances back to back. Both of them are green. So this is Alliage, created by Francis Camel from 1972. I dig this one quite a bit, but the one after this I dig a little more. Ooh, I love that. Actually, Alliage, that is good. Now this one has a little muskiness. But I thought for some reason this might be Bernard Chant. Is he not? Francis Camel for Alliage by Estee Lauder. Okay, I took a quick pause there. So this Alliage is reminding me of Devon by Aramis, which I know Devon is created by Bernard Chant, which I already spoke about for the fragrance Aramis by Aramis. But the databases say Francis Camel for Alliage. It's super mossy and also fuzzy, which adds a slight animalic funk to the fragrance. And that's what I like about Alliage. But this also reminds me a little bit of, is it Jean-Louis Scherer? I think it's just called Eau de Toilette or Eau de Parfum. It reminds me of that fragrance as well. Whereas I have vintage bottles of that fragrance in Eau de Toilette. It's even better than this, but this fragrance, Alliage, is reminding me a lot of Devon, which makes me love it even more. So Alliage by Estee Lauder, created by Francis Camel. If you don't remember, if you've not been following me, maybe you haven't caught one of my videos where I mentioned this. So there were a lot of fragrances for Estee Lauder that were also created for Aramis, and there were equivalent fragrances, like for example here, Alliage is the equivalent, almost identical to Devon. And so they had the women's version and the men's version. They also have Clinique Aromatics Elixir, and they had 900 by Aramis, and so on. So they had these kind of fragrances where, like Cinnabar for the ladies by Estee Lauder, and JHL by Aramis, which is almost identical fragrances. So that's what's reminding me of with Alliage. But apparently it's Francis Camel for Alliage, and for Devon, it's Bernard Chant. So let's move on to Private Collection next. It's called Private Collection, weird name. It's not a collection, it's just one fragrance. Created by Vincent Marcello. Now this one and the previous one are two of my favorite Estee Lauder ladies fragrances. Absolutely love them. There was no male equivalent of Private Collection, unfortunately, like Alliage's Devon, but Private Collection smells like spring flower stems. So imagine like you go to the florist, you buy spring flowers, you got the smell of the flowers, but you also have that strong smell of the stems when you're cutting them to put them in the vase and things like that. So that's what I get with Private Collection. It's a masterpiece. I love it. It smells so good. It's created by Vincent Marcello. But there's the word succulent comes to mind here, almost a bit like aloe vera here. So good. So good. Really delicious. All right, so that is Private Collection from Estee Lauder. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Created by Vincent Marcello, 1972, I believe, or 1973. I guess I don't have the date. Next, we've got Paco Rabanne's Pour Homme from 1973. This is created by Jean Martel. All of a sudden, the names are starting to sound familiar, and I'm like having deja vu. Did I already feature that name? Because I wanted to make sure I don't feature a lot of these perfumers more than once. But Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, another dad fragrance. My dad wore it, and it's super spicy and fresh and invigorating and aromatic, woody, green. For sure, it's lost its potency. There was once a really great fragrance there, super awesome. But you can still smell what's left of this fragrance. It's good. Really great. And this was kind of ahead of its time for this kind of fragrances that were launched like towards the end of the 70s and on to the 80s. This is like a fougère. And, you know, I think in the early to mid 70s, we got the original Drakkar, which I believe was not a very successful fragrance until like 10 years after they launched Drakkar Noir, which became huge. So this is around that same time, this Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. Awesome stuff. It's Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. I have the huge bottle. It's also refillable, which I don't think they sell refills. But I love this. It's super 70s design and look. But, you know, we've got green fragrances galore. This next one's super green. It's from Jean Couturier. This is Coriandre, created by Gerard Pelpel and Jacqueline Couturier. So, about 3 years ago, I was on the hunt for the EDP of this. And Amazon was selling them. So I was on the hunt. And I kept ordering them. And they kept sending me the EDTs. I'm like, dude, you advertise EDPs. Send me the freaking... They never ended up sending me. And I ended up with 6 bottles of this fragrance in eau de toilette. And I think I got refund probably on 4 of them. So I ended up with 2 extras because they didn't want me to send them back. So the EDP is a lot stronger. The EDT is a lot fresher, obviously. It's utilizing the note of coriander in a Chypre style. And for a while, this was super cheap, inexpensive. But I think production has gone down. In fact, when I visit TFWA in Cannes, if you enter the main conference center where they hold the Cannes Film Festival, that area, the brand is there usually, but I don't know what they're doing. Like, they have other fragrances, like more niche fragrances. They've never been able to distribute them, nothing. And this is like going back to 2019, the first time I went to this event. And last couple of years, I see them there, but I don't know what they're doing. But I wish I can get a bottle of EDP of this. It's spicy, it's warm. No, I'm sorry, it's not warm. It's very green. There's a lot of mossy notes here and, you know, spicy notes like coriander. It's called coriander. It's a really great fragrance. Just the EDT is super light, and it's sad that I haven't been able to find an EDP of Coriander by Jean Couturier. Let me know if you're familiar with this. So as I was saying, it's created by Gerard Pelpel and Jacqueline Couturier. But this next fragrance, guys, amazing fragrance. This is awesome. Still to this day, smells awesome. And it's created by Paul Leger. This is Givenchy Gentleman. Super sexy, masculine offering. Probably the best gentleman fragrance out there from Givenchy. It's a masterpiece. Well, all of these fragrances are a masterpiece, but this one, what I like about this, it's got funk. It's got a lot of patchouli. It's earthy. It's dirty, musky, super sexy. And it's like the 1970s come alive. Like, this is like total 1970s fragrance. Lots of patchouli in a dirty way. If you guys have ever smelled Ligno from Jeroboam, Ligno kind of smells like this, but they have amplified castoreum in that. So it's gotten super dirty and leathery. This, I'm assuming, was a bit dirty like that, but it's toned down. And now it's super easy to wear. It's got some funk, not too much, but it is so super sexy. The patchouli in here is king, and that's what I love about it. And even though it's been neutered, I think it's been kept pretty decent. It's not totally wrecked. Like some fragrances are totally wrecked. This one's not. Super awesome. Givenchy Gentleman, the original, the OG from 1974, created by Paul Leger. Next, another green fragrance. This is Jeffrey Breen's Gray Flannel. You can get this for 20 bucks as a 100 ml. It's 100 ml, right? Yeah. No, this is 120 ml. Well, I didn't spray anything on there. So this is so this is green and violet leaves. So it's ozonic, and I believe it also has a bit of galbanum because it's super green. But the violet leaves are super strong. It's woody, it's spicy because there's a pepperiness about it. But this is one of the best fragrances ever created for the guys. A masterpiece for sure by Gerard. No, I'm sorry, that's the right guy. Andre Fromentin is the one that created, is the perfumer that created Jeffrey Breen Gray Flannel. So I feel like this is what, after this was a Fahrenheit, kind of similar, but with a more leathery edge, because they both have similar notes. Not identical smelling though, but similar idea. Because this reminds me of Portrayal Man by Amouage a little bit. And Fahrenheit also reminds me a little bit of Portrayal Man. So kind of in that same ballpark. So good. So good. This is an amazing masterpiece. Jeffrey Bean. I mean, he's not around. Are the clothing still around? I don't even know if the clothing is still around. I think they make some here and there. But the fragrance itself, 20 bucks, get a bottle just to have. It's a masterpiece and one that needs to be in a collection if you are collecting classics. It still smells really good. I think the last two men's fragrances, still smelling great today. And then we're going to this one my mom wore. Opium from YSL. This is a 90 ml bottle. I wish I had the bottle that Pierre Denon created. That beautiful casing. This is the current version. Opium. And it does remind me of, where is it? Where is that? It does remind me of Youth Dew. We'll compare them side by side here in a minute. But, and I don't remember I don't remember this fragrance reminding me of Youth Dew when my mom wore it. I think the spices are a bit more pronounced here. There's definite differences. I think even though both of them are pretty spicy, as far as the reformulation goes, I think the Youth Dew is better. But as far as spices go, I think YSL Opium is doing a better job with spices. For me, the Youth Dew has, when I'm comparing Opium next to Youth Dew, the Youth Dew has a bit of a mulled wine kind of flat wine kind of a smell. But I feel like Youth Dew is a lot more dense than Opium, sadly. But this is definitely a masterpiece. Must be mentioned. So this is created by, it says it's created by Jean-Louis Suizac, Jean Amique in 1977. Well, definitely not a green fragrance because green was very trendy. But I feel like this is getting close to the end of the 70s, more towards the 80s. And I think a lot of fragrances got spicy in that era. Okay, so I actually had forgotten that I had a fragrance. So I'm actually throwing in another fragrance. So you might actually have more than 100 fragrances here. But there's going to be only 100 chapters. So you're going to have to do some digging around. But first, let's talk about this men's offering. This is Azzaro Pour Homme. So created by Gerard Anthony. I looked this guy up. Oh my God, he's got a great collection of fragrances he's created. This is one of the best for sure. But sadly, reformulation-wise, this is pretty thin compared to something like Gentleman Givenchy or Givenchy Gentleman or the Jeffrey Bean. Still, you get an idea. And what I like about this Fougère is that it had the anise note that made it different than other fragrances. This is also 1978, so the disco era, bell-bottoms. So I'm assuming a lot of people wore this, a lot of guys wore this and went to the clubs to dance. And knowing that it came out in 78, how strong it would be. I mean, eau de toilette, eau de cologne fragrances were so super strong back then. This is thinned out. It's Azzaro, owned by L'Oreal now. Although this bottle, I believe, is under Clarins. Azzaro was under Clarins with Mugler. And Clarins dumped both Mugler and Azzaro. Like in 2020, somewhere around there is when the transition happened. So, but I think this is still Clarins. It's just been really reformulated. Very, very thin, sadly. But a classic men's offering that definitely needs to be mentioned. So it's Gerard Anthony. You know, I forgot to mention, I think I did, maybe I didn't forget, but Yves Saint Laurent Opium is Jean-Louis Suizac and Jean Amique. If I didn't mention that, that's who the perfumers are for Opium. And then with the Azzaro Pour Homme, it's Gerard Anthony. Again, look that guy up. He's done some amazing fragrances. And then this next one's got to be mentioned as well. It's another men's classic. 1978 is the best year for fragrances. One of the best, I have to say. So there's a lot here that I'm going to talk about, including Polo, the original green, created by Carlos Benaim. Awesome scent. And in fact, if the dry down on this was somewhat nicer, this would still be one of the best men's fragrances, but sadly the dry down is messed up on this. The leather in the dry down is pretty bad, but that initial blast of pine aromatic camphor greenness is so intoxicatingly delicious. It's just a reformulation of the leather, I think. This is considered a Chypre. It's a green offering. Again, the green fragrances were king. Green bottle. This is also a fragrance my dad wore. So good. So delicious. Oh, man. Many memories with those fragrances. And then we've got Caron Yatagan. We've mentioned this perfumer, but I had to include this. This is Vincent Marcello, which also did Private Collection, another green. Both of them are green, whereas Private Collection is for the ladies. This is for the guys. This also reminds me a little bit of Polo Green, but a little different. I think Polo Green seems a bit denser, but on the end, this is a bit muskier in a good way, whereas the muskiness of Polo Green turns pretty bad. This one also, the Yatagan also reminds me a little bit more of a Christmas tree, and it has like a Christmas tree type of presence, whereas I kind of don't get Christmas tree from the Polo, but I get pine. This is also kind of frosted Christmas tree, like there's a cooling menthol, like cooling effect happening on top. But really awesome. Yatagan is so good. But I think they're very similar. Both of them are Chypre style fragrances, both of them for men. Both really awesome scents. You gotta have these in your collection if you love the 70s. The 70s, I have to do a series on 70s fragrances. It's been a while since I've done men's fragrances from various decades videos. I'm going to focus on the 70s soon. But 78 is a great year. Like this next one is a ladies fragrance. And I absolutely love this. This is Magie Noire by Lancôme. One of the true masterpieces. The current formulation sucks big time. Nothing like the original. And it's interesting also, I go to an alteration lady near my mom, get my pants hemmed and stuff, taken in and all that good stuff. And right next to her shop, there's a antique shop. So there was a bottle of this and then a bottle of Safari for the ladies, both vintage bottles. They weren't open, and I don't know what their hours were, but there was a number on there. I called and called, no answer. So I told the alteration lady, I said, what's going on with that store? Oh, they never come. They're only there when you contact them and make an appointment. And they have all these antiques in there. It's just like sitting. These were sitting at the window, which is not a good idea because they turn, obviously. And here, unfortunately, it's not smelling the best, but it's giving me the idea of the original. But eventually, the woman spoke to the antique shop and they made a deal, and I ended up buying these for this and the Safari for $25 each. This is the Eau de Toilette version. One of the greenest fragrances ever made, I think. Was Magie Noire successful at all? What is it about green fragrances that some of you do not like? And what is it about green fragrances with some of you that do like? Let me know, add a comment below. But I think Magie Noire is a masterpiece. It's created by Gérard Goupy. And it came out in 1978. A great year for fragrance, for sure. Fragrances. All right, so we're going to the House of L'Artisan next. Mûr et Musc. So this is not the original bottle. This is one of the more current formulations of this fragrance. Created by Jean-Francois Laporte. He sold L'Artisan to another company. Then he started Maître Parfumeur at Gantier. But Mûr et Musc, I think mûr is blackberry and musk. So it's kind of a fruity musk. I think along the way there's some greenness here. Spices. It's fruity. It's a bit classic, but I don't consider this too classic. This is like niche at the end of the 70s, when there was not really much of a niche world of perfumes. L'Artisan, unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately, is owned by Puig right now. And I haven't kept up with what they're doing too much. But their goal is to sell. So they constantly launch and discontinue, launch and discontinue. It's great that this is still around. But it's acting very green to me for the first time. Is my nose gone green? It's quite fruity, but I'm getting a greener touch. Not like super green, but it's giving me a bit of a green vibe here, which I quite like here. Anyway, that's Mur et Musc. And that's L'Artisan Parfumeur, Jean-Francois Laporte, the perfumer and brand founder. He's founded 2 niche houses, and that was from 1978. Then we've got Hermès Eau d'Orange Vert, 1979, created by Françoise Caron. This is the 3rd female perfumer. This, I'm holding here the concentrate edition. I think I started out wearing the original, and the first time I wore it was in 2001 on a trip to New Orleans. I bought from Saks, fell in love with it, and I was a fan of it since then. But I think the concentrate is a lot more interesting to me. The original has gone really thin and flat. But for me, it's like bitter oranges, the leaves, the stems, and the tree itself, the woody part of it, and the juiciness of the citrus, along with some spices thrown in. It's a long-standing fragrance from the house. It's definitely really, really awesome. I love it. In fact, as soon as I fell in love with it, I gave a bottle of it to my dad. He was wearing it for a while. He's no longer with us. So, and then we've got Estee Lauder's White Linen from 1970. Oh boy, I mixed dates around. So the Hermès Eau d'Orange Vert was 1979. We're going back to 1978 with White Linen, created by Sophia Grossman. So, White Linen. Once again, we've got aldehydes. Very feminine fragrance. Fizzy, sweet, amber, aldehydes, Coca-Cola-esque, spicy, soapy, very soapy. I think the aldehydes in here are super, super soapy. But that's good. Sophia Grossman has done quite a few fragrances. This is definitely one of her masterpieces. I love that. There's a warm spiciness in there as well, almost like cloves or maybe carnation. Yum. All right, that is Estee Lauder White Linen from 1978. And unfortunately, I've got my dates a bit wrong. So the Hermès Eau d'Orange Vert is 1979. So I apologize, but it's in the same decade. But this next one's also 1978. I should have put the Hermès Eau d'Orange Vert come after this one. But this is Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme from 1978, created by Louis Monet. So 1978 brought us so many awesome men's fragrances. So we had the Azzaro Pour Homme, Ralph Lauren Polo Green, Caron Yatagan, and then now we've got the Pour Homme from Van Cleef & Arpels. By the way, this is back, guys, but it's back in a special collection with Czar, Van Cleef, and one other fragrance for the ladies. The Van Cleef is ladies as well. And it's back in its reformulated edition, but also super expensive. What I like about this one is it's got pine, it's got rose, and it has spices and woods, but it's one of those similar kind of like Chypre-like men's fragrances that's a super beastly, slightly animalic, but very manly and classy at the same time. I absolutely love Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme. One of the best. And this version is probably from around 2015. This got discontinued around I think it's like 2019 or 2018. And I had bought one of the last bottles for around 30 bottles at the discounter. But now you can get it again in the new bottles. Much more expensive. It's like $250 for 100 ml. They brought back 4 fragrances from their vault or from their discontinuations. Van Cleef & Arpels, that is. I think they're going to start getting the rollout elsewhere, but for the time when I was in France in October, at that time they were still exclusively selling in France or Paris. But now I think they should start rolling out. Hopefully we'll get them here as well. But with the fact that it's expensive, maybe they'll go to like Neiman Marcus, not at the usual places where we buy signature fragrances like Macy's. But who knows? Anything is possible. So that's Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme from 1978, created by Louis Monet. Next, we've got Annick Goutal's Now Goutal Paris Eau d'Adrienne from 1981. This is created by Francis Kamel. Oh, we've got his name again, and Annick Goutal. But I was trying to find ways to put this fragrance in here, so I put it here because it is Annick Goutal, who worked with Francis Kamel. Which fragrance did we have Francis Kamel? Alliage. Estee Lauder Alliage. And speaking of alliage, this does have a bit of an alliage effect, but it's super citrusy and fresh and, you know, like astringent, but also kind of woody and green. It could be like a distant relative to alliage. But this is created with the founder of the brand, Annick Goutal, and definitely one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I love it. It smells great in the heat. I bought my first bottle on a trip in 2000 to New York City at Saks Fifth Avenue. At that time, it was Annick Goutal. And I remember it being a lot more like a sour lemon drops. It's gotten thinner for sure, but it's definitely a masterpiece. I love it. So that's Eau d'Adrienne in the EDP concentration in the men's bottle and created by Annick Goutal and Francis Kamel. So here we go to the 1980s. This is 1980s to the max. This, I'm talking about Giorgio Beverly Hills. Who knows this fragrance? Shoulder pads to the max for the ladies. So one of the fragrances I bought when I did that big haul of classic fragrances like 6-7 months ago. I don't recall this being so light because this was a super beast mode fragrance. And there was a lot of drama around this fragrance. People used to put "do not wear Giorgio Beverly Hills" on doors in restaurants and things like that, from what I've heard. This does remind me a little bit of Fracas because it's tuberose once again, but not so bubblegummy as much as Fracas is. This one's more like glossy candy, like hard candy. There's a candy effect happening. But it's not what it used to be. This is super thinned out. But yeah, it takes me back to the early to mid 80s. This was like what a lot of women wore. So this is Giorgio Beverly Hills from 1981. Bob Aliano. I just love that yellow. I actually walked by that store last year in Beverly Hills. They still had some of their fragrances out. This is actually growing on me. I think the thinness has made it a little better, but I don't think it's going to be as potent as, long lasting as it used to be. I thought these were also Revlon, but this is not. This is distributed in, it's made in Spain, and some random name for a distributor. All right, so that's Giorgio Beverly Hills, 1981, Bob Aliano. Next, we've got two Cartier fragrances back to back. We've got Santos de Cartier. And remember, guys, I mentioned this is back now. So happy it's back. I did a video on it. Go check it out. But this actually, I started smelling it. Like, I pulled it out after I found it at several stores I visited while I was in New York. It was Bloomingdale's and also, was it Saks? Yeah, both Saks and Bloomingdale's had this. And I was like, wow, it's back. And this is also kind of Yatagan-esque, Polo-esque, but also it certainly reminds me a little bit of Must de Cartier, which this is the Parfum edition from the mid-2010s. It's not the original, but it gives me the idea of the original. But Must and Santos came out same year, 1981. So Daniel Moliere is Santos, and Jean-Jacques Denier and Nathalie Feistauer for Must de Cartier, both of them from 1981. In fact, Nathalie Feistauer created Must de Cartier Pour Homme in the early 2000s, which sadly is discontinued. I wish I can find a bottle of Must de Cartier Pour Homme. But the Santos is reminding me a lot of the Must de Cartier for the ladies. But obviously, both of them have greenness. And I feel like, even though I don't think they mentioned the galbanum for the Santos, there's galbanum in there. Because the Must has galbanum in it. I don't think the Must de Cartier Pour Homme had galbanum in it. But for sure, the Must de Cartier for the ladies does. But the Parfum is different. I'm just using it as a placeholder for you guys. I don't have the Eau de Toilette or the original version of Must. Here we have a much more intense musky take on the Must de Cartier DNA. But it has that greenness. Two awesome fragrances from Cartier from the early 1980s. I like Cartier. I think their perfumer, Mathilde Laurent is an awesome perfumer, who I got to meet earlier this year at Paris Perfume Week. I do enjoy some of her creations. And I'm hoping that Must de Cartier comes back as a parfum. But both of them, I'm sorry, not Must. I'm hoping they bring back Must de Cartier Pour Homme, but I'm hoping Santos de Cartier, it gets re-released as a parfum edition as well. But both Santos and Must from 1981 are awesome scents, masterpieces, I think. So definitely ones that you need to try. But let's move on to another fragrance that is a huge fragrance from 1981. It's a Pierre Bourdon's creation of Kouros for YSL. This is 1981. Definitely belongs on the list. I mean, Pierre Bourdon has made so many fragrances. This is definitely the one I would highlight him for. You can highlight him for Cool Water, I guess, but I think this is a bit more interesting. It's animalic, it's leathery, it's spicy, it's still a fougère, but very polarizing nowadays, very popular back in 1981 and the early 80s to mid 80s. Great stuff. I love it. I still love that. But this next one was my fragrance of the 80s, Drakkar Noir by Guy Laroche. So I believe it came 10 years after the original Drakkar from 72. And this was a hit, huge hit. Not the new one, the Drakkar Blue. But Drakkar Noir is a masterpiece. And Pierre Wargnier is an amazing master perfumer. He's done some amazing fragrances, but this is the one I have to highlight him with. He did such an amazing job, even though it's not the beefiness I remember, but I think it still smells great, just a lot thinner, if that makes sense. But Pierre Wergny also did Boss's original fragrance for the guys, I believe. Both of them are great, but I had to pick one or the other. This is the one I had to go with, because I wore 4 bottles of Drakkar Noir in the 80s. I went through like 400 ml bottles. It was my favorite. I loved its cooling, green, aromatic, spicy qualities, and its intensity was awesome. It's a fougère. It's an aromatic fougère, but very 80s powerhouse style. If you don't know it, you've got to get your nose on it. So it's an amazing masterpiece from 1982, Guy Laroche Drakkar Noir. So next, we've got a fragrance called Paloma Picasso from 1984, created by Francis Bocris. Did I already mention this name? Everything has become a blur now, unfortunately. Sorry. So, Paloma Picasso, another Chypre. Fragrance that my mom wore. Powerhouse ladies Chypre. So overwhelming. It's got Chypre touches for sure, because it smells like one, but it's also got that kind of ambery warmth in there as well. It's almost like amber and Chypre together, because you've got warmth and you've got spices, you've got greenness, mossiness, even like slight leathery touches in here. Really wonderful stuff. I wanted to feature Emmanuel Ungaro's Diva, but it's Jacques Polge, and Jacques Polge did a lot of Chanel, and I've got to feature him with Chanel, but I wanted to try to sneak in Jacques Polge with Diva. I just couldn't, because his name already has appeared, but I have a fragrance coming up with his name, so I couldn't add him like 3 times. But this Diva, it's gotten watered down for sure, but this current formulation is pretty light, but you can kind of tell what the fragrance is all about. Definitely a masterpiece. But up next, we're going to Annick Goutal once again, but doesn't involve Annick Goutal. This is Isabelle Doyen with Sable. This is definitely one of the best from this house. In fact, Annick Goutal, I think, is owned by, is it Interparfums? I think it's Interparfums. They just bought the brand, I think. It's gone through so many hands. But Annick Goutal's daughter, Camille Goutal, and Isabelle Doyen, who created this, they have a new brand called Voyage Imaginaire, and they released a fragrance called L'Eau d'Immortelle, which is a fragrance that's part of my scent club kit. In fact, we have individual samples of that fragrance still in the store, which is an elevated version of this fragrance. Plus, it's all 100% natural. If you like the idea of Immortelle, take it into a gourmand direction, elevating it into this kind of caramelly, brown sugary, sweet, dusty, dry autumn leaves kind of direction, this is it. But if you want it more elevated with chocolate and patchouli added and a more ambery effect, definitely seek out L'Eau d'Immortelle by Voyage Imaginaire. But you've got to love Immortelle to appreciate this one, and I love it. It's helichrysum, the note. It's also known as everlasting flower, but people come up, well, it's also known as curry plant. And people say this smells like curry because it could get spicy. But it's an unusually great fragrance. It screams autumn. For me, Immortelle is a dry flower. It never dies. It's dry. And it screams autumn, totally. Because it's got that dryness that is associated with leaves drying in the autumn months. All right, so that's Annick Goutal Paris Now with Sable from 1985. But keep in mind, we have some Voyage Imaginaire Lodi Immortelle samples in our store if you want to learn more about that. But let's move on to this bad girl. My mom wore this one. Big Bad Girl. I bought this for this video and to have here on hand for sniff sessions. But this is Dior's Poison. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not what it used to be. I'll deal with it. I can't find vintage bottles of everything. If I do, and I find a great deal on it, I'll buy it. But this is the current formulation. This is a fruity floral. Oh my God, it takes me back to when she was wearing this. But it was also much more potent in beast mode back then. I mean, even though it's acting like it, it's not. This has a mulled wine or booziness. And I think it's the plum note that's in here that's giving me that effect. But there's a lot of like white flowers that are toning down. But that plum is super strong. And it's been a while since I've smelled it. I bought this specifically for this video just to have it. But I consider it a masterpiece. This is created by Edward Flechier, who did Rose Tonnerre and Lee Mediterranee for Frederic Malle. So Rose Tonnerre used to be Une Rose. So it's the same perfumer that did Poison that also has done those two fragrances for Frederic Malle. But yeah, it's an acquired taste. I think this is a bit polarizing nowadays, but it was quite the hit back then. I think nowadays also Hypnotic Poison might be more popular than Poison. There's also Poison Girl, I think. I don't remember. I've kind of given up on the Poison series. The one I want and I can't find is Midnight Poison. Masterpiece for sure. But I think Hypnotic Poison is also a masterpiece, but not as much as this. And Midnight Poison, which I cannot get my hands on. But I think Midnight Poison did not last as long as some of the other fragrances. It's funny, on one of my very first trips to the Basque country in Spain was like 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. I was in Bilbao and I went to a perfume shop and I saw a bottle of Midnight Poison in that shop. I probably should have bought that bottle, but for some reason I regret not buying that bottle of Midnight Poison. And I've never come across it ever since then. And I think I was very cautious with spending too much and carrying on too many bottles of perfume. But now I regret not buying that bottle. So anyway, Midnight Poison, it'll land in my lap one day. But let's move on to this next fragrance from the house of Zino Davidoff. Well, it's actually the house of Davidoff. It's Zino Davidoff. And this fragrance is 1986 launch. And so there's a few confusing things. Some databases say Michel Almerac, some say a few other perfumers. I'm going to say that it's Michel Almerac with Pierre Bourdon and Jean-Francois Lati, who... Oh... Uh-oh, I think I've got a mix-up here. Yeah, I do. Jean-Francois Lati did another fragrance 2 years after this called Jazz. So on my paper, it's wrong, but I believe I already switched it on the document. We'll get to that, so I'm glad I remembered. But Zino Davidoff, I think to this day, it still smells great. It's, to me, a modern, at that time, take on this fragrance. Givenchy Gentleman. Coming 12 years after the launch of that. So it's ambery. It's fougère, but it's ambery, spicy, and patchouli. But it's super, super sexy. Super, super sexy. You can get bottles of this for really inexpensive prices. Highly recommend you get one. I think as a formulation, you know, judging from how long ago the fragrance was released, I mean, we're going on, I mean, it came out in 86. So we're going on, what, 40 years? 40 years old. And it still smells great. Like, the smell doesn't look like it's, like, thinned out. I mean, it does, it's thinned out, just not smelling bad. I think it's totally worth having. I really love the fragrance, and I love the way it smells on me. And the fact that it reminds me a little bit of the original Givenchy Gentleman. Later on, after this, came Balenciaga Pour Homme, which also kind of reminds me of it. Maybe a little bit of Cartier's Pasha, the original. All these fragrances kind of similar, patchouli, amber focused. But Zino Davidoff, man, is really, really awesome. Again, I think it's for sure Michel Almerac, but some of the databases say Pierre Bourdon and Jean-Francois Lati were involved with it as well. So just wanted to point that out to you guys. Then this next masterpiece for the guys, it's Ted Lapidus Pour Homme. This is created by Martin Gras, Gras, also in 1986. This is a warm and ambery and fruity fougère-like fragrance. It's got honey and pineapple in the notes, but it's got aromatic notes, and it also has animalic notes. This version is thin, for sure. Between the Zino Davidoff and the Ted Lapidus, the Zino Davidoff smells better too. But I love the DNA of Ted Lapidus Pour Homme. All of its flankers do not smell as great. The more modern flankers, I should say. And I've got a video on the channel of this Ted Lapidus with its modern flankers. But this original, it's thinned out. And it's definitely era-specific fragrance. 80s for sure. Mid to late 80s. It's a solid offering. And you can get this for really cheap prices as well. So a lot of aromatic notes in that one too, if I didn't mention. Now let's go to Jazz, which on the sheet I have it wrong. It's from 1988, and it's Jean-Francois Lati, once again, who I mentioned with Zino Davidoff. And I think the perfumer that, I mean, the perfume that Jean-Francois Lati is known for is Jazz. Unfortunately, this is this version of Jazz. I don't have it in the original. So Jazz is kind of like an aromatic fougère once again, but highlighting the coriander seeds. I'm obsessed with coriander seeds. I need to find a very modern but old school leaning coriander focused fragrance. It's such a distinct smell, not the herb itself, the seeds. Night and day difference. I don't care for the herb smell. I love the seeds and the flowers. So delicious. And here you've got a really great take on coriander seeds with aromatic notes. But sadly, this version is very light. But, it reminds me of the late 80s for sure. 1988, we had Fahrenheit, which I don't have here, sadly. But we also had that fragrance. And also, I believe the reason why I didn't put Fahrenheit on this list is because I think Michel Almerac is credited for Fahrenheit in addition to a few other perfumers that I've already discussed. All right. Moving on to 1990, we've got Jacques Polge finally on his own with Chanel Egoiste. Yes, I'm putting him here for Egoiste. He did this fragrance. He actually created that unicorn called Bois Noir, 1989. And then that went away. And then they brought it back as Egoiste. But this is, I think, in conjunction with Francois Demachet. I did not put his name down. I've read that he worked on this fragrance as well. And he also created that fragrance Santal Noir for Dior, which has gotten discontinued, which reminds me of Egoiste, but much more beefier take on that DNA. But it's sandalwood with rose and ambrette seeds. So it's musky, it's powdery, it's woody, creamy. And the ambrette seeds provides that slight fruitiness and booziness, which you got there here. You got that here. And it's a very, very distinct smell. Sure, it's gotten neutered, it's gotten watered down, but it's one of the best men's fragrances ever created. It's definitely a masterpiece. Now, I wonder what happened with Bois Noir that came before this, because it was the same smell. Was the name just not doing it? Anybody have that information? Let us know. Look it up. There's a fragrance called Bois Noir, which was almost identical to this. And it came and went. And there's some bottles floating around. I wish I could get one. But that's Egoist, created by Jacques Polge for Chanel. And again, I do want to say that I think Francois de Mache was working with Jacques Polge, and they worked on that together. And I think that's the reason why he did Santal Noir for Dior. I have a video on the channel comparing Santal Noir to Egoist. Go catch that if you want to learn a little bit more about that. We're going to a feminine masterpiece next. It's Muglaire's Angel. Yes, it is. Very, very well known for starting the gourmand movement. But honestly, guys, gourmand with Angel is not the same as gourmand now. But I think it was gourmand because it was the first time they were utilizing, you know, caramel, coffee, and things like this for fragrances. It is butchered, it is thinned out, but for me, the DNA is there. It reminds me of when I first started smelling this fragrance. Ladies coming to the store I worked at, wearing this, it was projecting off of them so strongly, so super intoxicating. And then Mugler became my favorite house for a while. Olivier Cresp did an amazing job on this. He will always be known for Muglaire's Angel, not acro fragrances, not D&G blue, light blue, I should say. I mean, he's done a lot of fragrances, but this is the one he'll be known for forever. So 4 years after Muglaire's Angel came Amen, which was created by Givaudan perfumer Jacques Huclier. But I didn't feature that fragrance here, but I think it's all about Angel. Who's a fan of Angel? What do you like about it? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it if you don't like it? I know people personally that don't like it. My mom loves it. She's a fan. My mom loves fragrances that project. My mom loves loud fragrances, and she makes sure her fragrances last a long time. She'll complain if it doesn't. But I really love that DNA. I think it's a masterpiece for sure. It's got to be. It has to be featured here. So Olivier Cresp's masterpiece for Mugler is Angel. Then we've got another masterpiece created by Jacques Cavalier. This is L'Odyssée Pour Homme. So if you know Jacques Cavalier's work for Louis Vuitton and you've never smelled L'Odyssée Pour Homme, smell it. You'll find similarities in some of the fragrances that kind of are connected to this fragrance. The watery effect that's in this, I find very prominent in a lot of the clear bottle fragrances. Not the dark Middle Eastern style fragrances, but the majority of the other fragrances has this watery effect, which you can find here because L'Odyssée Pour Homme is an aquatic, yuzu focused. Not marine, thankfully. It's aquatic. It's got aromatics. It's got woods. And it's got that kind of aquatic touch with the spicy zinginess of the yuzu note. Yeah, I wore this. I wore it and I loved it. Yeah, it's different now, but still reminds me of the original. It smells like the original for sure. It's just thinner. And this next one's got to be here as well. It's 1996. We're going to Alberto Moria's. It's Armani's Acqua di Gio. It was either CK1 or this. I went with this, not we. I put this list together. I decided I should go with this, even though... Oh, my bottle is not spraying anymore. Even though even though the fragrance has gotten neutered, I feel like since it is the most popular men's fragrance to this day, they sell so much of it. I think it has to be mentioned here as one of the masterpieces. And I wore this as well. I wore it in 97, a year after it launched. And I do remember it being a lot more robust. It was also a lot more crisp. Here, it's thinned out. It's a marine aquatic fruity. Fresh. Very light wearing. Go with the Profumo edition. I still haven't got my nose on the Elixir, sadly. But go with the Profumo edition if you can get it, because I love it. If you can't find the Profumo, I guess the Parfum should do, but I need to test out the Elixir very soon. But this is definitely one of the long-standing masterpieces by Alberto Moria's. I think he perfected his appreciation for marine, whereas Jacques Cavalier was aquatic. Alberto Moria's was marine, and I prefer aquatic more than marine. You guys know that about me. I think they also were well, I know Alberto Moria's is from Firmenich, but I think Jacques Cavalier was also part of Firmenich until he went to Louis Vuitton. So two guys from that house that focused on kind of watery notes. But I think Alberto does way too many marine fragrances, maybe because he's an expert at it. And goes to show Jacques Cavalier does a lot of watery fragrances because he's perfected it as well. So next, we've got a fragrance from 1996 from a niche house known for candles. We're going to Diptyque with Philosophes, and this is Olivia Jacobetti. So Olivia Jacobetti Philosophes. So since this is 1996, does that mean that Première Figuier came out in 95? So she did both of the fragrances. Both of them are fig focused and coconutty. And I think the one that gets the more press is the Diptyque, maybe because Diptyque has all these stores everywhere. People can go smell fragrances. L'Artisan Parfumeur doesn't have a lot of stores, and also not as distributed and not as hyped either. I think the candles helps Diptyque, and that's why I think they're known more. But I think this is a masterpiece, even though I've complained that I'm kind of bored of this DNA. I think it's definitely a masterpiece. It's a creamy take on the green figgy leafy note. Creamy with coconut. So they're kind of replicate the smell of fig milk here with the coconutty creaminess. But it's woody, it's cozy, it's green, it's earthy. It's good. I'm just bored of it. Can't keep loving a fragrance over and over again. I can. I do love some fragrances over and over again. Some of them I get tired of. So the next fragrance, created by Jean Guichard, 1998. It's Gucci's Envy for Men. Yep, I'm going to feature this here for sure. This is definitely one of a kind. I wore 2 bottles of in the late 1990s. I think it was 1998. 1998? Yeah, 1998, sorry. No, 99 is when I got this for the first... No, 98. I did 98. This is... it's sandalwood with ginger is what this one's known for. So it's got that zesty zinginess from the ginger, but it's super smoothed out by the creaminess of the sandalwood. This is also the time when Tom Ford was at Gucci. He put Gucci on the map again. And he did, you know, creative direct some great fragrances. This, and I think Rush. I think he worked on Rush. Then he went to YSL and he worked on M7 and Rive Gauche Pour Homme, which I don't have either of those here, sadly. But for sure, Envy for Men, definitely a masterpiece. Sadly, it's discontinued. And then last fragrance, and we're done with this page, is a fragrance that launched in 1999, probably one of the most popular for the ladies from the house of Dior. It's J'adore. Dior J'adore, created by Khalees Becker. Now, we haven't had a lot of female perfumers on the in this video, but we do have another one here. This is a feminine floral freshie, I think. It's got a very distinct, pretty DNA. And I think I'm putting it here because it's been around for almost 30 years. So it's got lingering power, like the strength of a perfume, the longevity of the actual fragrance. It's got great lingering power. And they've made countless flankers of this as well. But to me, it's fresh. It's not necessarily warm. It's very floral with a fruitiness. Khalees Becker has made a lot of fragrances. She works at Givaudan. She did Love Don't Be Shy. I think both of those deserve to be on the list, but I don't have Love Don't Be Shy on the list, unfortunately, because it just could only fit 100. But in 99, she launched J'adore, and I think it definitely deserves the list. One of the biggest selling fragrances for sure. What are your thoughts on J'adore by Dior? Let me know. Add a comment below. And then we are on to another page. We've got 2 more pages left, so we've got 40 fragrances left. All right, continuing on, we're at still at 1999, and we're gonna enter the 2000s shortly. But this fragrance is from the house of Comme des Garçons. This is number 2 from 1999. You guys familiar with this one? This is created by Mark Buxton. So I do have Bertrand Duchaufour on the list, but not with a Comme des Garçons. He's coming up soon, but you might have thought, oh, okay, I wonder if he's going to feature, you know, Incense Avignon for Bertrand Duchaufour. No, I'm featuring him with another fragrance. But this is number 2. It's too reflective. It's also a bit smudgy, this bottle. Very first time I bought this fragrance was in France at the Galerie Lafayette. And there was a clearance section in the back somewhere, probably 10, 12 years ago. And I found a bottle of this with a candle for a really nice price just after the holidays. So that's the very first time I started wearing this. This is aldehydic, but it's a very unique kind of metallic, cold fragrance. And very unique that the type of fragrances that the Comme des Garçons does. Mark Buxton's been doing fragrances for a long time. He also has done Le Labo. He currently works at Luzzi, but he was doing quite a bit of very interesting fragrances. I mean, he still does interesting fragrances, but I think this is definitely a masterpiece. Very unique fragrance. It's aldehydic, metallic, cold, crisp, but behind it all, there's also warmth and warmer touches as well, like resinous, ambery things happening under there. So that is 2, Comme des Garçons 2, from 1999, created by Mark Buxton. You guys familiar with Mark Buxton's fragrances? Let's move on to Serge Lutens. This is Ambre Sultan from 2000, created by Christopher Sheldrake. I consider this a super masterpiece. I mean, I could have gone with Féminité du Bois. I went with this one. This is so good. It's an amber, it's resinous, it's balsamic, it's spicy, it's powdery, it's aromatic. Super amazing amber. This kind of ambers I like. Love this fragrance. The job that Christopher Sheldrake did on this one is super awesome. I like its warmth. I like its intensity, its sexiness as well. Definitely one of the best from Serge and Christopher Sheldrake. He is an awesome perfumer. Christopher Sheldrake does really, really awesome fragrances. And mostly for Frederic Malle, but also lately for Spaterno. But let's move on to Frederic Malle. This is Musc Ravageur, created by Maurice Roussel. I wore a fragrance before I wore Musc Ravageur that was created by Maurice Roussel for the House of Khitan. And I believe it was the original Khitan in red, not the black. But I think both of them were done by Maurice Roussel. I think he's only credited for the black. Very musky, powdery fragrances. And here is a musk, but sweet and gourmandesque take on musk with aromatic notes, ambery notes, little patchouli, woods. So yummy. This stuff is super awesome. Really, really amazing. It's gotten more gourmand throughout the years, I have to say. The musk has kind of been toned down, the animalic qualities. But it's interesting. Also, Maurice Roussel has done 3 fragrances for Frederic Malle. This is the one I like the most and the one I generally wear. Uncut Gem is boring. Dante Bras is not like something that I crave. But I prefer Dante Bras more than Uncut Gem. But definitely Musc Ravageur is the one. It's the best. So that is Musc Ravageur, created by Maurice Roussel from the year 2000. Awesome, 2 awesome brands back to back, Serge Lutens and Frederic Malle. But we've got another Frederic Malle fragrance here that I also consider to be a masterpiece and definitely needed to be noticed. And it's also a perfumer that doesn't get mentioned too often. It's Ralph Schweiger with Lipstick Rose, also from 2000. Definitely, I think it's definitely a masterpiece fragrance. It's a fragrance that highlights the lipstick, powdery, violet, dusty, fruity, rosy, sweet. Really lovely. And I don't know much about Ralph Schweiger. I've actually met him. I met him at the World Perfumery Congress in Miami in 2022. And it was, a lot of different perfumers were there, obviously, because it's a technical show. But outside of this, I think he works for Man. Is it Man or Simrise? Don't quote me on that. It might be Simrise, come to think of it. But this is definitely, I think, one of the earlier makeup-y like fragrances that, from a niche house that's definitely very notable and considered one of the best. Let me know your thoughts on Lipstick Rose. What do you think? Do you enjoy it? Do you know the perfumer Ralph Schweiger? Add a comment below. Up next, we've got a fragrance created by Harry Fremont. This is Michael Kors For Him. So this fragrance is, as soon as it came out and I got my nose on it, I instantly bought it back in 2001. 2001? Yeah, this is when it launched, 2001, and that's when I first wore it. And I remember where I worked. I remember where I lived. I remember the route I took to work. I used to wear this on the bus. It was super potent and not boozy, but tobacco-ish. Maybe a little boozy as well. But it was loud. It was intense. It was tobacco. It was ambery. It was very spicy. And fruity as well. This is really, really great, created by Harry Fremont. I think he's done a few fragrances for Tom Ford, and I believe he worked at Firmenich. But this is definitely one of the best. Sadly, it's discontinued. I love this fragrance. If you can't find this, you want something similar, I would recommend Animal Mundane by Pierre Guillaume with a little added muskiness to it. Awesome stuff. Michael by Michael Kors. Are you familiar with this? This is also Eau de Toilette. It was also really intense fragrance. But man, that stuff smelled so good. I loved it. This next fragrance, true masterpiece. I'm disappointed and saddened that it's discontinued. Going to the House of Guerlain. We've got a lot of Guerlain coming up, by the way. And also Frederic Malle, too. This is Bois d'Harmonie, created by Annick Menardo. So sad that they discontinued this fabulous offering. I spoke about this recently also. So what is this all about? Bois d'Harmonie is benzoin. It's a benzoin fragrance. So it's resinous, ambery, vanillic. It's a little smoky, but sweet. But so good. This is super, super awesome. So the Bois d'Harmonie is inspired by the Paupières d'Harmonie. And Paupières d'Harmonie is this little incense strip that you light up. They're sold in France at pharmacies is where I buy mine when I visit France. And I bring them back and you just light it up if you want something ambery. And this fragrance is inspired by that smell. Sadly, it's discontinued. But let me know your thoughts. Bois d'Harmonie from the House of Guerlain. I first wore that. I think it was one of my very first La Métier collection fragrances. And first I, excuse me, first I bought a bottle that was that thin, tall bottle with a sprayer on top. Later it became a pump spray. Then they went back to the regular sprayers. But I first bought it in the regular sprayer. Then I bought a pump bottle. Luckily, I have the regular bottle now. And I still have my pump bottle with a little juice in it, which is really, really tough to spray. I don't know why Guerlain did that, but that was annoying. But next is L'Artisan Parfumeur, created by Bertrand Duchaufour. It's Timbuktu. My cap is going to fall, so I have to hold on to it. Timbuktu is a masterpiece for sure. It's a great creation by Bertrand Duchaufour. The patchouli, the vetiver, the fruity notes, the smoky notes, all super awesome together. It's grassy, it's somewhat green, it's aromatic, it's spicy, lightly fruity and smoky. Perfect Bertrand creation. And one that definitely has to be highlighted here as a masterpiece that he created. And thankfully, it's still selling. It's on the market still, and you can buy that one. Are you a fan of Timbuktu? He also did a fragrance called Zonga, which is not my favorite. I like it, but I don't love it as much as Timbuktu. Timbuktu is awesome. All right, so that's Timbuktu by L'Artisan. Luckily, thankfully, it's still selling. Next, we've got a fragrance from the house of Diptyque D'Ossonne, created by Fabrice Pellegrin in 2005. This is actually the EDP version. The original in EDT launched in 2005. I think this version came much later. D'Ossonne is the type of tuberose focus fragrance that I really enjoy. It's very modern and creamy, buttery, rich, but also green and stemmy as well. It's super delicious. Very, very smooth. You might think it has some similarities to Carnal Flower, because there's a slight creamy coconutty vibe in here. It's quite tropical. But I think what distinguishes this from Carnal Flower is the eucalyptus is present in Carnal Flower, which is not here. But there is something slightly sharp and green camphoric-like in here, but not as strong as the eucalyptus in Carnal Flower. I didn't feature Carnal Flower here because we have another fragrance by Dominique Ropion here. So I can't feature him more than once. But Carnal Flower is really great, and sadly it's not here today. But let me move some fragrances back a little bit because it's getting pretty tight here. Going back to the House of Guerlain, we've got two back-to-back Guerlain fragrances. I have to feature this one here. You can currently get it in a bit of a neutered down version of this, but this is L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême. I consider this a masterpiece. Fragrance created by Beatrice Piquet. So as I said, you can buy the neutered down version of this, but this version, super sexy. This is why I do fragrance review videos, this fragrance right here. If it wasn't for this, if I never got my nose on this, I probably would not have 3,000 plus videos on YouTube. It's because of this. This fragrance left a major impression on me. It's super intoxicating. The combination of the star anise with the cacao and the patchouli and the citruses is a match made in heaven. And whoever Beatrice Piquet is, she did such an amazing job. And at that time, I guess Guerlain hired different perfumers. Obviously, they now have in-house perfumer of Delphine Jelk and Terry Wasser. But many different perfumers did fragrances for the house, including Francis Kurkdjian, which I don't have any of his Guerlain creations here, but Annick Menardo, of course, Beatrice Piquet, and then followed by Daniela Andrier coming up next. But this stuff is amazing. If you can find this bottle, oops, I have a bottle falling down. If you can find this fragrance, please do. It's so, so amazing. If you can't, get the current version in the square bottles, like I showed you for Habit Rouge and Vetiver earlier. But if you can find this, this is worth hunting down. It could be very, very expensive, sadly, but one of the best fragrances ever created. So it must be, it must say, L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême. Extreme fragrance, it says. Anyway, so good. It's a patchouli bomb. That's like I said, that's the reason why I'm here on YouTube. That fragrance. Maybe there's a few others, but it's because of that. Because I discovered that, and a year later I started shooting fragrance reviews. But this next one, created by Daniela Andrier for Guerlain, this is Angélique Noire. At least that's what my research said. It's created by Daniela Andrier. I'm assuming it's been reformulated post the creation of this. I got a strip in here. But for the longest time, I smelled this fragrance at Guerlain like 10, 12 years ago. And I come really close to buying it and never did. But finally, like mid-2010s and maybe a little later, finally bought a bottle. And I can't be more happier. This is one of the best fragrances ever created. In fact, I think I have a bottle, full bottle, in the previous edition of the bottles before they went into these bottles. But it's the great combination of vanilla with angelica, this musky, green, powdery, vegetal note. What a contrast. What a unique smell. It's a bit peppery, spicy as well, but truly unique. Yeah, truly, truly one-of-a-kind fragrance. Angélique Noire by Guerlain. Have you gotten your nose on that one? It's truly a masterpiece, I think. And Daniela Andrier is Givaudan. She's done fragrances for Prada, a ton of them. But I guess she did that for Guerlain like 20 years ago almost. No, 20 years ago exactly, because she did it in 2005. Both the L'Instant de Guerlain Pour Homme Eau Extrême and the Angélique Noire came out in 2005. But next, in 2006, we're going to the house of L'Occitane. It's Eau de Beau. Definitely a masterpiece, created by Karine de Brule Sereni. But unfortunately, I already reported on this. It's no longer called Eau de Beau, guys. It's called Cedra Encens. So no more 75 ml bottle. It's now a 50 ml bottle. Now it's called Cedra Encens, but here's what it looks like. This is created by Karine de Brule Sereni. It does say Cedra Encens, but as you can see below Cedra Encens, it still says Eau de Beau. So if you're looking for this, you can still find it, but obviously it's a different fragrance name now, and it's much smaller for the same price, which is a bummer. That's what a lot of brands have done. They've changed the size of the bottles and didn't change the prices. But wow, it's a great smell. Let me just double check both of them together side by side. Yeah, it's the same smell. So on my birthday this year, I was in France, in the south of France. I actually visited the factory of L'Occitane. And if you ever make it to the south of France, it's in a city called Manosque. Not super easy to get there. I don't know. I can't remember if it's on the train line, but driving is possible. And it's also beautiful land to drive in the south of France, Provence area. It's in a city called Manosque. And it's a great tour. You learn a lot. And of course, I didn't learn about Cedra Encens at that tour. I had learned about it prior at a store that they're changing. The size has changed, and also that the name has changed. But both of them are the same fragrance. I feel like my Eau de Beau is a bit thicker and denser because it's been aging in the bottle since I got this bottle in 2022. So it's been in there for a while. The Cedra Encens is from this year. So for me, the Eau de Beau is actually acting a lot more beefier, stronger. But the Cedra Encens is also very similar. In fact, now I can't remember which one is which. This is smelling stronger. But yeah, it's a bummer it's changed, but I definitely do consider this one of the masterpieces created by Karine de Brule Sereni. Let me know if you're familiar with her fragrances. So that is L'Occitane, Eau de Beau, or Cedra Encens. Next, go into the house of Le Labo with a creation by Daphne Bouguet. This is Bergamot 22. Yeah, if people complain about the fact that it's light, but for me, it's one of the best smells I've ever put my nose on. Super awesome. Juicy bergamot, citruses with gorgeous citrus floral notes, green citrus notes like the leaves, petitgrain, and musk in the base. Le Labo DNA, but one of the most beautiful, pretty, but not young and girly, just gorgeous. This fragrance is gorgeous. It's a really awesome smell, and definitely one of the best. I love the way it smells. Daphne Bouguet. So she's done quite a few fragrances for the brand, Le Labo. I've heard that she's related to one of the founders, or is like husband, wife. I'm not 100% sure. But for me, Bergamot 22, one of the all-time best. It's definitely a masterpiece because it smells so super awesome. And she's a Firmenich perfumer. This next perfume is also created by a Firmenich perfumer. This is Encre Noire by Lalique. Super hyped fragrance, especially when I got into doing videos. This was one of the most popular fragrances people bought for inexpensive. You can get it for like $28 for 100 ml. It's an eau de toilette. It's vetiver, it's dark, slightly smoky, green and aromatic. Definitely got a cult following. I've never really, although, no, I take that back. I saw this fragrance at Neiman Marcus earlier on when I started this journey, like 12 years ago. But I've never seen it at places like Macy's. It's a little bit more niche than you would find at places like Macy's, where it's all mass market. But for sure, I saw the entire Lalique Encre Noire collection at Neiman Marcus earlier on. And I would also see the Pour Homme version there too, which was the ladies targeted, which I always felt like it smelled like Lyric Man, the Pour Homme version of Encre Noire. But this is a masterpiece. She did such a great job on this. It does remind you of Chanel's Sycamore. Let me know if you guys get that comparison. That is Lalique Encre Noire from 2006, created by Nathalie Lorson. Another masterpiece here, this time Jean-Claude Elena with Terre de Hermès. Terre de Hermès, yes. I wore it first in 2006. It's another vetiver style fragrance, like Encre Noire. But this is minerally and also citrusy. If I can find a sprayer. Also to this day, this still smells great. Super classy. There's the orangey, citrusy touches and also peppery touches. But works well with the aromatic, woody grassiness of the vetiver and its minerally qualities. It's good. It's really, really great. Very classy, gentlemanly, elegant, woody, fresh, spicy fragrance. Not much warmth there. I like that. The Parfum for me is also nice, but the collection is really great, except for the one that they launched this year, which I didn't care for with the coffee in it. Boring. But that and the Parfum and the two other flankers are super awesome. Next, going to the House of Amouage, created by Luc Suizac. This is Reflection Man from 2006. There's that bottle, that, what do you call it, in the front there has fallen off, so I've taped it on there. But probably should get another bottle. This is also one of the older bottles. It's not one of the magnetic caps. So probably the other bottles are different formulation. So to me, this came out the same year that Fleur de Mal came out from Jean-Paul Gaultier. And to me, it kind of reminds me of it a little bit. Not so much on the orange blossom, but more on the jasmine. It's quite powdery, but there's also orange blossom in here with the jasmine. It's floral, it's powdery, quite powdery. And that's why I kind of get a similarity to the Fleur de Mal. Has it changed, by the way? Has Reflection Man changed at all? Because my bottle is quite old. But it's good, it's good. It's really great. It's definitely a masterpiece here by Amouage, created by Lucas Suizac. And I think we've already heard Jean-Louis Suizac earlier. Are they related, Lucas and Jean-Louis? Is Lucas his son? Let me know, add a comment below. Next, going to the House of Eccentric Molecules, definitely a masterpiece here. It's Molecule 1 from 2001. This is Gaze Shown. So, for some reason, people really love this fragrance. Those of the people that I show that are not perfume people end up really loving this fragrance, really, really loving it. It has a huge cult following, and non-perfume people love it for its simplicity, for its minimalistic qualities. It's one of a kind when it first launched in 2006. I don't think anybody had done anything like this before. It was new. It was out there. Only one ingredient, which is ISOE Super, which is used quite a bit in fragrances in the base notes. It's a cedar sandalwood combo, musky, dry, woody experience. Although I do get creamy qualities as well. And I think that's the reason why I get sandalwood with this as well. But it's awesome. Great to wear minimalistically on its own. perfect to use as a layering tool as well. So for sure, Gaze has shown launched something really awesome. And this year, Eccentric Molecules launched the Molecule 1 Plus Cistus. So it was in the mystery box. Let me know if you guys got that and what your thoughts are on Molecule 1 Plus Cistus. So Molecule 1 also has Molecule 1 Plus Mandarin, Molecule 1 Plus Patchouli, Molecule 1 Plus Iris, Gaiac, Black Tea, and Ginger. Those are all available, including the Cistus that came out this year. And next year, it's 20 years. This is celebrating 20 years. Whoops. It's a bit crowded and tight here on the table. But next, I consider this a masterpiece as well. This is Straight to Heaven, created by Sidonie Lancesor by Kilian. I featured this here because I wanted to feature Sidonie. I think she's definitely done a lot of work and great work by Kilian. And she does great boozy fragrances. In fact, hopefully you guys caught my video on the boozy fragrances of Kilian recently. I hope it makes it on the channel though before this video. But if it does, hopefully you caught it. If not, stay tuned for it. But this was the very first Kilian fragrance I bought. I fell in love with its booziness, the fruitiness, and of course, what else does it have? It has patchouli, and I'm obsessed with it. Oh, it's good. It's boozy, it's fruity, it's a bit warm and vanillic, and it's all got that earthy sexiness of the patchouli. So good. I bought this first in 2012. Who's a fan of Straight to Heaven? Ursa by Terenzi is like Straight to Heaven, but it does have an animalic quality though. I think there's a lot of leather. In fact, I was visiting my mom recently and she was wearing 2 days in a row Ursa. And then finally she switched it over to Rive Gauche. She loves patchouli. But I was like, she kept walking around and I kept smelling Ursa off of her. I'm like, wow, Mom, what are you wearing? Oh, it's that one, the white bottle. I'm like, oh, okay, I know that one. I gave that to you. I've gifted her so much perfume. So that is Straight to Heaven by Kilian. Next, we've got this lovely number called Tobacco Vanille from Tom Ford, created by Olivier Guillotin. Do you know this perfumer? I believe he's Givaudan. Oh man, this is good. Super spicy, a bit chocolatey, of course fruity, and dry, a little smoky, vanilla, and tobacco. This combination is amazing. It's a masterpiece. I mean, when a fragrance gets copied and inspired from many times, it's definitely a masterpiece. Like, it's selling a lot. People seem to love it, click with it. Most of the time, it's a masterpiece, I should say. Not all the time. But it's such a great scent. This Tobacco Vanille is one of the best from Tom Ford. Launched in 2007 and created by Olivier Guillotin. It was tough to decide on how many Tom Fords, but I went with 2. Because also some of the other perfumers that have done some of the other fragrances have already been covered or are going to be covered later. But this is Tom Ford's Oud Wood, launched in 2007, created by Richard Herpen. I think he has his own brand now, Richard Herpen, who I also met at WPC, World Perfumery Congress in 2022. But what's this all about? It's Oud Wood. It's a woody take on Oud Accord. Very spicy. I think it's spicy, a little warmth under there, but mostly woods that are creating a Oud Accord with the spices. It's very fresh wearing, not super warm and dense. But if you're into the Oud Accord, not necessarily that funky animalic Middle Eastern style oud, then this is definitely the place to start. Although if you haven't really experienced oud, yes, also probably where you should start with Oud Wood. Definitely one of the best from Tom Ford. Super popular, and of course they have the Parfum edition now. They've actually launched an intense version of that, which went animalic, but that version is definitely very safe. And then, going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, I decided to go with this. It's Absolute Pour Le Soir. I consider it a masterpiece. It's another amber. It's also... Oh, I grabbed the wrong one, sadly. Sadly, I had grabbed Absolute Pour Le Matin. This is Absolute Pour Le Soir now. This is the new version, not the original. It's been relaunched. One of the best fragrances ever created, not only by Francis Kurkdjian, but of all time. I consider this a masterpiece. I didn't pull out the original. I think the new version is kind of going towards acting more like the original. It's for sure different, but close enough to say it's still a masterpiece. What I like about it, it's an amber, it's honeyed, it's resinous, it's smoky, it's spicy, and also musky. Like, you've got funk there, a good kind of funk. It smells super sexy and super delicious. Who's gotten the new version of Absolute Pour Le Soir? Who has the original? I have the original half a bottle, and I have this. This is the new version. I also have Cologne Pour Le Soir, which I haven't used, which is a Cologne version of the original. But super awesome. Masterpiece. A true masterpiece. But you've got to be into sweat and funk to enjoy that one. If you like sweat and funk, definitely you'll enjoy it. All right, so that's Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Absolute Pour Le Soir. Let me know if you're a fan. I'm glad they brought it back, even though it's not 100% identical. I'm glad they brought it back. Now, what was the reason why they discontinued it? Was it because of ingredient regulations? I don't know why, but I remember like in 2020 is when they pulled it, and in 2024 they brought it back, so 4 years later. Great fragrance. And then the next fragrance, sadly, I don't have a bottle with me. I've been mentioning this in a few other videos. This is Byredo's Bal d'Afrique. I'm not sure exactly what happened to my bottle. It has walked out of the studio, and usually nothing walks out of the studio because nobody comes in here except for me. And if somebody came in here to walk out with a bottle, why would they go directly to Bal d'Afrique? Because it's not like easy to access. It's like lower bottom of the shelves. So it's kind of weird that it's not here. It could be misfiled, but I don't misfile because you can kind of see that the kind of bottles that are filed together. So I don't know. It's just walked away or it's put somewhere else. I have to like really dig into the studio. But sometime very soon, I'm going to do a deep clean here. And so I'll track it down. But in the meantime, I think Bal d'Afrique is a masterpiece created by Jérôme Epinay. Definitely one of the best fragrances ever created, and a unique DNA for vetiver with the marigold note. And I had not seen that before. It's a very unisex take on vetiver, whereas vetiver can go very masculine. I feel like Bal d'Afrique is a very unisex vetiver fragrance. And something in it balances it out. It's so popular. I also see it as hotel, in the hotel where they have the shampoos and body washes and soaps. So I guess I would say not accessories, but the whatever the word is. I'm having a brain fart now. So when you go to a hotel and they have like the counter of shampoos and things, I've stayed at multiple hotels where I've smelled not only like this DNA outside of the name Bal d'Afrique, but also with Bal d'Afrique, if that makes sense. So I guess they dupe hotel products as well with certain scents. But yeah, it's a popular. It's definitely one that I wore quite a bit of. and definitely one of the best from Jerome Epinay, who does a lot of the fragrances for Byredo. And he's done a great job with Bal d'Afrique. Let me know if you're familiar with Bal d'Afrique. Let me know if you are a fan of it. But next, a true masterpiece created by Dominique Ropion, Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle in 2010. So Bal d'Afrique was 2009. Portrait of a Lady was 2010. I bought it in 2012, by the way. It took me 2 years to really find this. But I started doing videos in 2012. That's the year I bought this. And so 2 years prior to this launch, for the launch of this, I wasn't out and about investigating niche fragrances. I was still stuck at designer fragrances and so on. I would visit places like Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, but they didn't have a lot of like the super niche fragrances that Barney's had. And I for some reason, I never visited Barney's. But finally, when I started going there, and I went there to buy that Nasamato Black Afghano, and some people were huddled around the Frederic Malle counter and spraying this, and I was smelling it, and I was like super, super like wowed by the smell, and went back and bought it. But if you haven't gotten your nose on this, you must. It's a great one. The name might turn off some guys, but it's smoky with incense. It's floral with rose. It's warm spicy with warm spices. It's resinous and ambery in the dry down. There's patchouli here, which I absolutely love. It's super intoxicating. It's a great combo with the rose and the incense and the spices. And then if I'm forgetting anything, it's got to be the fruitiness of the fruity notes in here, which is like raspberry or blackberry type notes in here. But one awesome creation, super, super intoxicating. In fact, recently my brother fell in love with this fragrance. Go figure that one out. So it's really a great scent. He didn't obviously try the version that I bought in 2012, which was just 2 years after it launched. So it's a more modern version. But even though it's been reformulated, it's kind of gotten neutered. I think the actual idea is still there. You can experience it. You can pick up the smoky, incensey touches, the fruitiness, the ambery touches, the resins, the patchouli, the rose. All of it is there, and it smells super intoxicating. So that is Portrait of a Lady from the house of Frederic Malle. Really, really awesome scent. Must get your nose on it. It's a masterpiece, one of the best. And Dominique Ropion will be known for Portrait of a Lady. He did Portrait of a Lady, and he did such an amazing job. He's also done some other masterpieces like Jungle Elephant from Kenzo. He's done Alien. And of course, there's other fragrances. He has his own line of fragrances now, aphorisms, which I haven't really gotten into yet, hopefully soon. But he'll always be known for Portrait of a Lady. It's his masterpiece. Okay, next, going to the house of Juliet Has a Gun. It's not a perfume. So we already spoke about Eccentric Molecules, Molecule 1, a minimalistic fragrance. Now there's Not a Perfume, which is literally not a perfume. All it is Cetylox, which is related to the ambroxan note, but in a soft form, not super nose-piercing, kind of screechy. Very soft, very light, powdery, musky, ambery take on ambroxan, or in this case, Cetylox. And it blends with your body, and you kind of create this own, original musk from it. But once again, I think this came pretty early on, 4 years after Molecule 1. And I think by the time Juliet Has a Gun's Not a Perfume launched, I think Molecule 2 is already released. That is ambroxan in Molecule 2. I think it came out, right? Or did it come out around the same time? I don't know. But I don't know. I guess Romano Ricci, who does the fragrances for this house, he probably works with perfumers, because I don't think he's a full-fledged perfumer. But I think he saw something and decided to do this, start or contribute to the trend of minimalistic musky fragrances. So since then, this and of course the eccentric molecules fragrances, there's been a lot of minimalistic molecular musky fragrances that have launched, but definitely Not a Perfume is one of the first. And of course, Molecule 1 is also definitely one of the first. I hadn't seen any fragrances like that prior to that. But yeah, this is Juliette Has a Gun, Not a Perfume from 2010. It's Romano Ricci. You guys like Juliette Has a Gun? Let me know. It's a very feminine leaning brand, I think. There's some good ones there. But next, going to the house of Javoy, its private label. I had to include a fragrance from Cécile Zarokian, and I decided to go with private label. I think it's a really solid offering. Super, super masculine for a unisex offering as well. This is once again patchouli and vetiver, but in this there's also like papyrus or cypriol. There's a booziness about it, but it's super spicy, dark and smoky, and total butch fragrance. Really, really manly. But I like its booziness, but it's dark. It's like a dark, smoky whiskey. It's whiskey with a cigar in a dark room, dark lounge. I mean, it's a female perfumer that knows a lot of masculine perfumes because she's done this. I mean, she did also Remember Me, which is definitely a lot more unisex, if not feminine leaning. But she's done Silver Oud. And now that I think about it, this today, for the first time, is reminding me a little bit of Silver Oud. But obviously, it doesn't have the animalic notes, because Silver Oud is totally unwearable. I can't wear that. It's got too much poopy, crappy, shitty animalic oudiness. I can't wear it. There's no way I can wear that. I've tried it. It's tough. Here, I can wear it. It doesn't have that animalic funk, but it's super, super intense and super manly and masculine. And it's reminding me of Silver Oud. Like I said, strip away all the dirty animalic oudy funk. This doesn't have oud. And you get private label because it's acting like it. Anyway, that's private label from Javoy, created by Cécile Zarokian in 2011. Next, we're talking about Pierre Negrin and what is he known for? Which Amouage fragrance is he known for? It used to be the #1 Amouage fragrance for a while until Guidance launched. We're talking about Interlude Man. And Interlude Man is certainly a masterpiece. And for the first time, you have this dark, resinous, amber with oud and smoky touches. And then, of course, you've got this oregano, this herbal oregano note that is very distinct smell that cuts through all of those notes I mentioned and creates a segue into the aromatic world, the aromatic side, a little brightness, a little herbal touch against the dark, resinous, smoky, oudy touches. So once again, I think Pierre Negrin did an awesome job with this. Also, it was Christopher Chong as creative director up until like 2019. In 2020, Renaud Salmon took over, and the first thing they did was make flankers of Interlude Man because it's the most popular fragrance from the house. So what are they going to do? They're going to milk the most popular fragrance and make flankers. The Black Iris version, I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't hate it. I like this one quite a bit. I think the extract version of this is super awesome, really nice and luxurious. But this version is good too. It's the original. Surprising it came out in 2012, long time ago. So that is Interlude Man from the house of Amouage. Who's a fan of this one? Let me know. Do you consider it super masculine? I know Amouage used to do gender-bending fragrances, whereas the feminine ones in the short, stubby bottles were a bit more masculine, and then the men's went a bit more feminine. For example, Lyric Man. But that, to me, is super, super butch, super masculine. All right, next, going to the house of Guerlain. Once again, originally it was called Songe d'un Bois d'été. Yeah, I know I'm butchering my freaking French, but I'm not a French speaker. So that is the original, created by Terry Wasser. Yes, I had to include Terry Wasser in this mix. I don't have Delphine Jelk, though. Then it became Bois Mysterieux. And then, of course, it got discontinued. It's permanently gone, which is sad. But let's smell the original first. This original was part of a trio or 4 fragrances in a similar collection, more Middle Eastern collection like this. I think I like the new version more. Oh, I love this. It's so good. It's leathery, it's smoky, it's resinous, aromatic and green as well. Definitely, I prefer the redo. I think they intensified the redo. I always felt like I liked the original, but it felt a bit calmer. I think also the original is slight bit more animalic. But they on the new version, they've pushed the aromatics. It's super concentrated that way. But it's so good. This is one of the best fragrances from Guerlain. Sadly, it's gone. Luckily, I have a few backups of this. It's one of my favorites. And an awesome creation by Terry Wasser. Awesome. Really, really great. And makes sense. I've got Guerlain here in this video the most. Love this house. All right, next, going to the house of, but before I go to the next, I do want to say that the Guerlain Songe d'un Bois d'été originally launched in 2012, so in this version. I believe Bois Mysterieux came out in 2018. I used to layer this with a rose fragrance from Molten Brown, and it acted a little bit like Portrait of a Lady as well. So it did, even though it's pretty beefy fragrance, it did have room to play around with layering. But the next fragrance, going back to Le Labo, I'm not featuring Santal 33 here, sadly. I can't. But I am featuring this here, created by Frank Volkel. This is Ylang 49. And I believe Frank Volkel is the same perfumer of Santal 33, I think. But I consider this to be a masterpiece. It's so good, but very classic leaning. To me, it reminds me of Clinique Aromatics Elixir with an intense take on patchouli, mossy notes, and of course the creaminess of the ylang note in here. It gives me Clinique Aromatics Elixir vibes for sure. But it's good. Definitely one of my favorites. It's a top 5 Le Labo. You've got to be into the vintage mood to appreciate that one. I'm surprised they have a fragrance like that, but I appreciate it. I love it. Let me know if you're a fan of Ylang 49. What do you like about it? What do you hate about it? Up next, going to the house of Etat Libre d'Orange. It's Rien Intense Incense. I'm putting this at 2014. The original, which came out several years prior to this, also created by the same perfumer, Antoine Lee. But I'm going with the intense version here because the intense version is the one I started wearing first. This also is very, very vintage. It reminds me of a cross between Kouros and Antaeus. It's leathery, it's smoky, it's aldehydic, it's spicy, it's ambery, and super animalic. Good. But I'm so used to fragrances like this because it takes me back to the early 80s when Antaeus and Kouros were first launched in 81, 82. So I'm used to it, but I think a young nose might be like, what the hell is this? What did you make me try? What do you like about this fragrance? Yeah, you're gonna get like major reactions. This is super animalic, super old school, but I love it. I really love Rien Intense Incense. No, I don't consider Secretions Magnifique to be a masterpiece, by the way, because I featured it in a few other videos recently. But I think this is more of a masterpiece, Rien Intense Incense. But some people might consider Secretions Magnifique a masterpiece. What are your thoughts? Do you consider that a masterpiece? I absolutely do not, by the way. We're going to the house of Xerjoff next. It's Pico Vaadama. Somehow I've turned out several fragrances back to back with a kind of a vintage quality about them, including this. This is awesomeness in a bottle. This reminds me of classic fragrances of the early 1900s, most importantly like Guerlain-esque fragrances and Chanel fragrances. It's aldehydic where we get a little reminder of Chanel No. 5, but for me this reminds me more of L'Heure Bleue by Guerlain. That soapy, clean, aldehydic effervescence. Oh man, it is to die for. Super. So good. This is Chris Maurice, by the way, launched in 2014. I think it's a redo of one of Xerjoff's earlier fragrances, but Xerjoff does so many releases and I don't know, I can't keep up. I get confused. But I think, I don't know. I think it was out once before this and then it was brought back. But those details I don't know. If you like aldehydic fragrances with warmth and ambery touches, reminiscent of fragrances like L'Heure Bleue from Guerlain, maybe a little bit of Chanel No. 5, must check out Pico Vaadama. It's to die for. Yum. It's a masterpiece. I love it. The other thing I should also mention, it's got soapy qualities, but underneath it all, I think it goes away because there's a lot of warmth there. But super amazing. Pico Vaadama is super awesome. In 2014, that launched. This next one is an awesome masterpiece in 2014. And now it's been butchered. Thank you, Mr. Kirkjian. This is Dior Homme Parfum. This is the 2014 edition. This is the version that in 2014, December, I took a trip to France and I bought 3 bottles. And those days I wasn't buying a lot and I felt like 3 was a lot, but I probably should have bought 10 and brought back with me. So I discovered Dior Homme Intense in 2012 or 2013. And it was an instant love. So because I love Dior Homme Intense so much that when I heard about the launch of Dior Homme Parfum, I needed to get a bottle. And it never, like Dior Homme Parfum never got a launch here until the new version this year. So these were not, like, it would eventually end up at discounters once in a while, but it was never really selling here. So this is just a masterpiece created by Francois Demachet. He took the original Dior Homme, amplified it and made it a bit more concentrated with Dior Homme Intense, then gave it the luxurious treatment with the Parfum edition. Sadly, the days of existence are gone for this. Somebody did say recently, I did the video on new fragrances launching, and there's a fragrance called Queer Saddle from Dior in the Privé collection. They said maybe it's a reimagining of Dior Homme Parfum. I don't know. I can only wish. But Dior Homme Parfum is one of the best fragrances ever created. For the longest time, it was my favorite fragrance. People would ask me, what's your favorite fragrance? Because, you know, they know I do this and they know I learn a lot of fragrances. And I would always tell them Dior Parfum. I would say, that's my favorite fragrance because something about it just moves me. And sadly, I can't say, I mean, I could still say that, but I want to make sure that when I'm telling somebody what my favorite fragrance is, it's still in existence. You can buy it. And you can't really buy this fragrance anymore. It's not easy. Another person messaged me the other day. It's like $300 something. Should I buy it? I'm like, that's a little too much, I think. I mean, yeah, if you have the money, you have a little bit of a disposable money, yeah, you should get it, but no, don't. Get Boadicea the Victorious is Harmonious as a great alternative for the now discontinued Dior Parfum. The 2014, and then of course the 2020. The 2020 version did become a little lighter, but it was basically the same DNA, you know? It was still smelling like the original. And when you aged it a little bit, it did kind of become a little bit more thicker. And still, you would tell it's different. But it was so close. It was just a reformulation. From 2014, they went to the 2020. They went from a 75 ml bottle to a 100 ml bottle. So they did change it around. But now, that dramatic change that Francis Kurkdjian did is super disappointing. Like, taking the most luxurious men's designer fragrance into the cheap direction. That fragrance is quite cheap smelling. I mean, it smells like an Armani, which I'm not the biggest fan of Armani fragrances. I like some, but I don't like a lot of Armani fragrances, sadly. And the new Dior Parfum smells like an Armani. Anyway, let's move on to this. Jo Malone's Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt. This is utilizing Ambrette. And I think Ambrette came up already earlier, didn't it? Ambrette is a musky, all-natural note. And it's in the base here. And it's also got woods and sage and sea salt. So it's not marine, but it acts maybe a bit marine-esque. But it's a really crowd-pleasing fragrance. Not super strong. It smells great on you. It's for the people that want something light, not overwhelming and heavy, but a super pleasant smell. And I think it's one of the more popular Jo Malones. And I really, really love it. I really love it. I think the Ambrette does it for me in the base. I love that note. Excuse me. I'm actually, didn't mention, I'm actually getting over a really bad cold. So, but if you like clean fragrances, definitely check this one out. Salty, definitely check this out. It's actually really solid. It's just a very light fragrance because Jo Malone fragrances are eau de cologne concentration. But it's a really solid offering from Jo Malone. And it's created by Christine Nagel. Go figure. I don't have her here for an Hermes, but I have her here for a Jo Malone. And then we've got another female perfumer next, going to the house of Memo Paris. It's African Leather. This is created by Eleanor Massenet, also launched in 2015. Eleanor Massenet is now with Simrise, I believe. She's been doing a lot of fragrances for this house. A lot. Like, they've gone back to her so much. She's done so many fragrances for Memo Paris. But what's going on with Memo Paris? I recently bought, was it last year? Yeah, last year, I think, or earlier, maybe this year. I bought a bottle of leather, not African leather, not a country and leather name. It's just called leather. It comes in a 30 ml extract. And it's just a leather fragrance that's super concentrated, super sexy. So I think you can also layer with other leather fragrances from Memo. But I don't see Memo Paris around much anymore. Are they just going under? What's happened to them? But going back to African Leather, it's probably the best leather fragrance from the house and most popular. Definitely a masterpiece. Definitely a really spicy, sexy spices that are, found in Africa, mixed with like animalic leather. And the leather is not super animalic, but it is a little bit on the animalic side. But it has warmth, it has freshness, and leather and spices. Really nicely done. There's a little bit of a sweatiness in here as well. I think there's a little bit like cumin or caraway seeds that pop up that give you that little bit of sweaty funk. But I think it's edited. It's nice and toned down, not super strong. All right. Next fragrance, going to the house of Aesop. It's Huile from 2017, created by Barnaby Fillion. A name that doesn't come up too much, but he's done mostly, at least from what I've seen, mostly Aesop fragrances. I believe when I went to an Aesop or Aesop store recently, they told me that he no longer is doing perfumes. That's why they have what's her name? Celine Burrell doing the fragrances again. She did Tacit for them, and now she's done a few fragrances. But I think Huile is definitely a masterpiece. And if you haven't gotten your nose on it, definitely do. This is Aesop's Santal 33. Man, I hate these boxes. You can never get them back in. But I much prefer Huile over Santal 33. But I think this one has a cult following like Santal 33 in Aesop. But what I like about it is it's a very Comme des Garçons-like fragrance. Very wood shavings, pencil shavings like woods with cypress notes and hinoki wood. All these notes. So there's smoky, sharpened pencils kind of notes, aromatic and green type of, notes as well, including the cypress and the hinoki. Very nice, dark and mysterious. Very Comme des Garçons, by the way. To me, it's giving me major Comme des Garçons vibes. Huile by Aesop. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Launched in 2017. It's Barnaby Fillion, perfumer. Moving on to Marc-Antoine Barrois. It's Ganymede from 2019. I've got to put Quentin Biche in here. He's definitely one of the best perfumers out there, but also he's become quite polarizing as a perfumer. Who is a fan of Quentin Biche? Who doesn't like his fragrances? Add a comment below. Let me know. But you gotta know that this Ganymede is super original. It's minerally, musky, leathery, ozonic, violet, crisp apple juiciness. It's super, super sexy. I think it's a super sexy fragrance. It hasn't achieved the popularity of something like Baccarat Rouge, but it's kind of gone in that direction. It's got a following for sure. I'm a fan of Quentin Biche. I like this fragrance quite a bit. And lately, I fell in love with Decision from Amouage. Don't have it here on this list. What I love about Decision also is it's piney and also smoky, giving me like a creamy snow-covered pine experience. It's absolutely amazing. I love that fragrance. I wasn't that wowed by it at first, but it's so grown on me. Anyway, that is Ganymede by Marc-Antoine Barrois, created by Quentin Biche. All right, next moving on to the house of Un Nuit Nomade. It's Jardin Misfah. Yeah, I do consider this a masterpiece. So unique, so awesome, so amazing, so delicious. It's sweet, it's tart, it's spicy, it's a bit gourmand, it's saffron, almonds. It's so unique, so unique. What I like about it is it's got tartness that I don't know where it's coming from. It's got dates also as a note, so adds that fruitiness. Dates are not this kind of tartness. They don't have this kind of tartness or the usual fruitiness. So we're getting that from somewhere else. It's kind of like got like a berry, almost like pomegranate tartness in there, which I quite like. Maybe it's from the rose. I don't know, but it's so yum. There is an extract version of this as well. Extrait de Parfum, but this is the Eau de Parfum. Launched in 2019. I actually bought my first bottle of that in 2021 when ZGO started carrying it here. I went there and I walked out with it because I loved it so much. But when I first discovered the brand, I don't think that fragrance was out yet. But it's just an awesome scent. This is Jardin Misfah by Nuit Nomade, created by Jérôme de Marino, launched in 2019. Up next, we've got Chanel's Le Lion. This time, we've got Olivier Polge. Then we've also discussed Jacques Polge, which is Olivier's father. So, yeah, this is a masterpiece to me. It's not like we're breaking any new ground, but there's no originality left in fragrances, is there? But it's a great representation for a amber fragrance from a mass market designer, but part of their luxury collection. You start out with the sweet tart citruses up top, but there's ambery resinous touches and vanillic touches there. It gets smoky, dark, and slightly leathery in the dry down. And a bit animalic. I think people have complained that this is animalic. I don't think it's animalic to me, but it takes a certain type of person to think something is animalic versus one that doesn't think it. And it's noses are different. People pick up different things. What I like about this, when I wear it, I do get some faint reminders of Coromandel, faint reminders of Cuir de Russie when it turns leathery, and then also a little bit of a reminder of Shalimar from Guerlain. Up top, when the citruses are taking effect, it's a bit Shalimar-esque. Did they copy Shalimar? I don't know, but I just absolutely love this. One of the best Chanels. I love Coromandel, and this is also like equally, I love both of those less exclusive fragrances. Yeah, Olivier Polge, he's done a few fragrances here and there that are good. This is definitely the best. And they launched this as an exclusive to the Middle East in 2020. Then finally they brought it to the rest of the world in 2021. But to me, it's a masterpiece. Hands down, all of these fragrances, masterpieces. So if you're looking for the best guide for masterpieces, this is the video. Long form, 100 masterpieces. Like this next one, created by Mathilde Laurent. This is Cartier's La Panthère Parfum. In the most gorgeous bottle, as you can see, but they've changed this bottle. It's no longer. They've made it that ugly, stubby-looking bottle where this one, to me, is so nicely beautiful, gorgeous Art Deco bottle. And now it's like boring. This is a Chypre style fragrance, fruity, and taking the original into a more concentrated direction because this is the Parfum edition. I was going to put either this or Pasha Parfum. I think this one, I like Pasha Parfum too, quite a bit. She did both of the fragrances. But this one, to me, I think takes the art of perfumery more seriously than I think the Pasha de Parfum does. Excuse me. As I said, I have just been getting over a sickness. But yeah, this is really lovely. It's a fruity Chypre, very modern. And it's got these ambery touches in the base as well. But Mathilde did a great job on that. She's the in-house perfumer over at Cartier. Actually, she did some kind of a concert thing here in San Francisco. Not last year, but the year before. And when I met her earlier this year, I spoke about it because I wasn't here. I was doing a tour in London for the Harrods launch of Juicebox 54. And she said the experience was awesome. It was with the San Francisco Symphony, I think. And it was some piece that had Cartier fragrances synced to the music or something. If anybody attended that here, I think it was for 2 days, let me know. I think she mentioned they might be doing more of those, but I don't know where and when. But I've never been to a concert that was scented with perfume, but it happened here, sadly, when I was traveling. Otherwise, I would have gone. But either way, that's Cartier's La Panthère Parfum. Super awesome fragrance. And then I've got two fragrances back-to-back from Frederick Malle. Once again, we've got The Moon, Julian Rasconnay creation from 2019. I don't have a lot of oud here, if you've noticed. I think this is a great oud, but once again, it's not animalic. It's most likely a oud accord. It's fruity. It's rosy. It's smoky. It's incensey, but not dense. Like, it's not going to weigh you down. There's a light and airiness about this, but that doesn't mean it's like not long lasting either. It lasts. I think there is a little bit of funk. I think it might be the combination of oud accord and like some animalic type of oud in there. But I don't get too much animalics. It could also be an accord, as I said. But there is a little bit of a funk there with this fragrance. But it's a masterpiece. He did such an amazing job. Super awesome. So that's The Moon from 2019. Then we've got another fragrance from Frederick Malle, Synthetic Nature, which started out as Synthetic Jungle. Now it's called Synthetic Nature. But one of the best green fragrances. One of the fragrances that smells a bit like chopped salad ingredients, which I love. With flowers, of course. There's floral notes in here. But it's so good. And Anne Flippo did this. She did an awesome job. This is definitely one of the best from her. And it's one of the best representations for green fragrances. To me, it's kind of like a cross between L'Ombre dans l'Eau, Eau de Campagna, and Malamata. These three fragrances that are green. Malamata is Rousse and Rousse. It's a green fragrance that we actually featured in our Scent Club kit. It's a Dominique Ropion creation, and which Anne Flippo and Dominique Ropion are co-perfumers at IFF, so maybe they might use similar ingredients. But I get like L'Ombre dans l'Eau vibes from Diptyque. I get tomato leafy vibes here. There's flowers mixed in, and of course it's fresh, maybe a bit viney, like pea vines or grapevines, all rolled into one. It's so awesome. So awesome. That is Synthetic Nature from Frederick Malle. Yes, and I'm going to end the video with this masterpiece. Juice Boxes 54. You've tried this one, right? I really love this fragrance. Since there's not a lot of patchouli represented here, I had to feature this one. It's another Julian Rasconnay creation. And of course, you guys know I worked with the brand and Julian on this fragrance. And it's super awesome. There was a rumor recently, somebody messaged me and said, I tried to buy this fragrance and the store told me it was discontinued. And I'm like, discontinued? I don't know if it's discontinued. Why would the brand discontinue this? It's only like a year and a half old. And sure enough, it was some strange misunderstanding, but I had to send emails to a lot of folks and no, it's not. But really awesome, creamy, chocolatey, patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood, tobacco, davana, pina colada, cinnamon, rum, saffron. Did I say chocolate? There's chocolate. Dries down to a chocolate milk effect on the skin, and really solid offering by Julian Rasconnay. Anyway, Juicebox 54 ends our list today of 100 masterpieces by 100 master perfumers. Yes, I did do a couple of fragrances with the same perfumers, but there's a lot of perfumers here that I've spoken about today, ones that you probably haven't even heard of. But which fragrances are fragrances that you've sampled? Do a percentage. Say you've got 50% of it, or maybe if you have the numbers, say I've got 50 of the 50, 50 of the 100, I've got 75 of the 100, I got 10 of the 100. But this is a great list for you to come back to go and, search and find these fragrances and sample and test. These are definitely masterpieces. And I'm not the only one that considers these masterpieces. Sure, maybe 10 to 15% are my own masterpieces, but the rest of them are considered masterpieces by a lot of people in the world. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Which are your favorites? Which ones do you not like? Do add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching today's video. All the fragrances, if I can get them, if they're like available to purchase and I can get them tagged, they're tagged and they're available to buy. You can buy them if you're interested in checking them out. Some of them are really inexpensive. Some of the discontinued are not going to be easy to find, so there's no way I can tag them. But a lot of these fragrances are definitely worth checking out if you have the budget to try them. So that, as I said, they are tagged within the video, and all the products will come up. But again, thanks so much for watching today's video. I'll add this to the deep dive playlist. You can go there and watch them back to back. This will be at the very top, and then the rest of the videos in the bottom. And there's hours and hours and hours of videos for you to watch. But if you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Please do. That will really help the channel. And also, if you give it a thumbs up and share it, that will also help this channel as well. I would appreciate it if you did. Anyway, stay tuned for another video soon. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.